And once again, it's not working. Now it's working. Alright. Here we go. Alright, hello everyone. I had some technical issues, and now it's finally cooperating. Alright. And I'm going to wait for you all to come in, and I am going to see how this goes. Alright. Alright. Telling everyone hello. Alright. So, basically, some topics I want to discuss for this nighttime stream is I want to discuss about the fallen angels and the aliens and the links that they have together. And I will be looking forward to you all coming through when you all do. And yes, and soon we can do the call-ins. That'll be nice. And I'm also going to talk about the Nephilim. You know, these giants that existed, and they kind of still exist today. And I'm tall. And the height thing comes from those things. Seeing how this goes. Alright, everything's checking out. I'm just making sure it's all working. So basically, yes, the Nephilim are the offspring of humans and fallen angels. And they're the Nephilim are these giant people that were wiped out in the flood. And then they went into the mountains. And basically, when they went into the mountains, you know, the small little groups of them survived. And that is basically, you know, to sum it up, simply. And I was learning recently in South America, when the Spanish explorers came, that they saw the Nephilim. A lot of them were down in South America, and they were able to, you know, discover that, but they didn't have any phones or anything back then, so they tried to kidnap them and bring them to their homeland, and then one of them got, you know, charged because, you know, he was inhumane. And basically, you know, there's a man, he was really tall back in the olden days, and he, you know, back in the 50s or something, and that's an example of it. We all have small little bits of it in our genes, some more than others. That's why some people are a little bit taller than other people. And that was something interesting that I was learning. And also the aliens are the same thing as these fallen beings. You know, so they were indirectly responsible for the Nephilim being created. And I'm going to do something really quick. Hold on a second. Yes, and you tell me your thoughts, and I'll have the lines open up soon. Alright, so, yeah, and I'll have the lines opened up soon. I'm just seeing people that are going to come. And I'll bring up some pictures of these things that you all could look at. I just have to get the window right. Okay, here we go. So this is the Nephilim. So the fallen, as I just said a couple of moments ago, are the fallen angels who engaged in unnatural union with the human women. It's a very civilized way to put it. And they are the fallen sons of God. I recently did a sound effect about it. I was loading. Yes. These things. You know, these things right here, they're, you know, the depictions of them. Because there are different books in the Bible that are not put in there. they took out some of the stuff from the Bible. And the book of Enoch, which is an Ethiopian Orthodox Bible, they talk about these things. And Enoch was an ancestor of Noah. And I think his great-great-grandfather, and he talked to these things, these aliens and stuff. And, of course, like, the Bibles don't really talk about it. And, personally, now I'm going to see the chat, see if anybody's here. So these windows everywhere. Alright, Latina. Yes, Latina. So, basically, I can do that, and that's a good idea. Just a lot of the people I know aren't really on YouTube. Yeah, but I will definitely do that. I did tell some people I was going live already. And I told people basically, I told people different schedules when this was coming on. To answer your question, I'll definitely. Let's see. So I'm going to put out the chat here so I can see what you're saying. About chat. Alright. This is why I can see what you're doing. Okay, so basically now in this window you can see some of these depictions of these Nephilim, the fallen sons of God, and they're known for the things from the Bible and whatnot. See, this is what I was seeing. So, basically, this was an example from their mythology that they talk about our God, how this God had a great flood, and he wiped out all the giants, and these giants wanted revenge on the Christian God, because the South American thing confirms what the Bible was saying from another perspective, and they built all those giant pyramids to try to reach the God that was causing the Great Flood. And this is an example of some of the people that retaliated the giants, and they dragged them out and killed them. And they had to hide in the mountains and things. And we see what they were doing. And this correlates with the alien theories, because the sons of God, they came to Earth and they created these hybrids. And God didn't really want them because it wouldn't fit. The angels are kind of big. And they weren't really supposed to mix with the humans. And yeah, that's basically them attacking this Nephilim guy right here. Here's another depiction from South America. I know the thing isn't completely loaded, but you can see these giants, just like what the Bible talks about. They were... Oh, it's Alice. Yeah, and so basically these things, these giants, and so that in South America it confirms what we were saying. That's what I just previously said. And also eventually the Spanish came in and it caused them to get sick. Nymph, yes. Yes, I remember that. You're right about the nymph. Yes. Now I'm looking it up now. I forgot the other letter. Nymph. Yeah, I remember that. Yes, yes. Those are one of the things. Those are one of the... You see, the fallen angels, they come as aliens, or they come as these things to deceive people. And through different time periods, they come and... Let's see what this window's doing. Yes, okay now. Okay, so they come, as this, or they come as aliens. They come as these different things, And it's kind of like a succubus. So a succubus is this thing that appears in people's dreams, in men's dreams, people interested in women, and they do things with them, and they suck the energy out of them. Because they go into the dream realm, and they could enter the real realm, as you could see with ghosts and stuff. That's one of the things I was talking to one of my friends recently about, that they come, as ghosts and do supernatural things. Let's see, some of these nymphs. I remember this from a little while back. Yeah, so they'll come as these creatures, and they are depicted, the gods and goddesses of the ancient religions. And now, in our time period, they come as aliens and ghosts. And in the future, who knows what else these things would be. So yes, and they mate with the earth people and created these hybrids and whatnot. So that's basically they appear as these different things, and they're good at it. They're like shapeshifters. And let's see, are they male or female? Yeah, female deities. And they could appear as different genders, and you could see in our time with the humans were influenced by these things to do unnatural stuff. A lot of this stuff originates from these things. And it looks like there's a little critter that was named after it. That's funny. Me and my buddy from school talked about this all the time, and my cat just got up to drink some water. And that's a praying mantis. And now I'll talk about the gods of Egypt. So basically, these things. Alright. And you see these things. The ancient gods from the Egypt. You see how natural these things look? They look a lot like the angels. They're depicted like this. Because they're not from our realm. And Alice, I see you said something. Mm-hmm. Yes. Alright, so Jezebel. Oh, hey Sonia. I got StreamYard, if y'all want to come through. Yeah, so before I get to the StreamYard part, basically these demonic creatures, these perverted things, oh yeah, you're right, Latina. You're quite right. And basically, with these ancient gods, they, this is what the angels look like. They look like that. And they, that's basically the answer to this question. Because people like to say with religion, why are there so many religions? But Christianity confirms everything from around the world. That this is the fallen angels they were talking about, just like the Nephilim from South America were the same things from what the Bible is talking about, and the people down there in their religion confirms what the Bible is saying. So it's very miraculous. What they're able to do, what they're able to achieve. And as I said, I was talking about this on Rebel Stream, and Sonya always asks good questions. I'm glad she's here. And I'll get the StreamYard thing set up. I just have a million windows open, so that's why I'm taking a moment. Okay, so now bear with me. Thank you all for your patience. Yes, they were fashioned from that, Sonya, and I'm going to bring you right in, and you could ask your questions in a moment. Alright, I'll get the StreamYard thing set up. Alright, so I'm getting StreamYard up so you all could come in if you all would like. And so yes, you're right. Those idols to those gods and those giants and things, that's basically what that is. And they also many other the deities they had. So that to answer your question, yes, you are correct. That is one of the things that They are, yes. See if that works. I dropped a link in there if y'all want to come in and ask questions. I designed this thing where you can have the... Alright. So, StreamYard people can come through if they want to. Now, I'll go back to the other window in a moment. This is a different feature than I have. And, you know, the idols and the transgender things, yes, they were influenced. The weirdos were influenced by these things to do that. You know, in the spiritual realm, because there's another realm. Yes, yes. I can get to the giant skull thing in a moment, actually. Alright. Now I'm going to switch windows. And I have a little, have a guest right here. He's going to come through in a moment. This is Bubbles. Bubbles the cat. And now I'm going to go to the other window and talk about the skulls. Alright. So, I remember studying this when I was very young, and a lot of people didn't really take it seriously, but we could see now there are people that do take it seriously. And alright, so bear with me a moment. Alright, because I know they had these skulls. So I think, yeah, here we go. You see this thing? You know, right here. This little critter right here. They had these elongated heads, like even with my head. See, my head's very, you know, I have a very high forehead, so I would be like technically distantly related to those things probably. Yeah, so like I have a big forehead, like the Easter Island heads. You know, that's what they had. They had these elongated skulls, and they're very big. They're giants. Here we go right here. Alright, let's check chat. Yeah. Alright, now I'm going to go and... okay. Here we go. I'm bringing you all in. Just give me a moment. Alright.
Hello.
Hello, Alice.
Your forehead is not that big.
Well, it's not as big as them, but it's bigger than some other people. And I could bring also callers in here too. But
Well, if we go by size, right?
mhm.
I would be like a fairy or something. They're like 4 foot something.
I guess so.
Like I think it was Dungeons and Dragons. The fairies were like 4 foot. I'm 4'8".
Mhm.
So I'd be some kind of little mystical creature.
Mhm.
Because I'm little. Okay.
Mhm.
So my friend, he's like 6'8". He would be considered like a
Yes, he would be
gore.
a little bit more related to them than say, yeah. So there are people that have different percentages, very tiny percentages of it, like 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, things like that, and they're a little bit related to them. So, you know, as the percentage goes up a little bit, that's how you can tell, you know, because like I'm like 6 feet tall, right? So then there's someone like 6'8". It goes, you know, then there's someone that maybe be 7 feet tall. You know, there's different variations of it. Then there's somebody that's like 4 feet tall or 5 feet tall. Well, 4 feet, I don't know people 4 feet tall, but I know they exist. And 5 feet tall and whatnot. So it goes up. You know, there's different variations of it.
Yeah. They say that you're talking about the ones that the fallen
Mm-hmm.
that had got with the men humans and had offspring, and there's these
Mm-hmm.
giants.
Right. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Well, you know, you're looking at the Egyptians. I find it interesting. I was looking at this guy. He lined up the Jezebel spirit, right,
Mm-hmm.
with this train stuff, and it's because she's like a shapeshifter, right?
Mm-hmm.
She goes after men and women, so it's like she shifts.
Right.
She'll go, like she'll possess or whatever, men or women. So they look at Jezebel as like the spirit that wants to castrate men.
Yes,
And she'll
yes.
use men and women.
Mm,
But I find it interesting when we look at the Egyptians and stuff like that.
mm,
All of their gods are women. Like
mm,
the most powerful ones are women, right?
mm,
The war of God is a woman. The war of the God of love and all this other stuff, and
mm,
it's always linked to fertility. Like each one of their gods, it's
mm.
always about sex, man.
Uh huh. That's true.
Have you looked at that?
Yeah, yeah. The orgies. Yes.
Yeah, and then there was the guy was talking about it. The reason it's the Jezebel spirit is because, like, in the pagan belief, they have these sexual, like, ritual, and one of the rituals well known in the pagan lifestyle is men dressing up as women and dancing sexually in front of children.
Right.
And we look at what's going on now,
Mm-hmm.
right? With the drag shows.
Yes, yes.
Then
Yeah.
we think about the they're putting all these men in dresses and saying that's courageous, like that's courage.
Right.
We're
It's
in
not.
some weird times. Okay, I thought aliens were weird, but no, I think they took the cake, dude. I
Yes.
think we're in a whole other dimension.
Mm.
You got your aluminum hat on, like the spaceship ready? Cause I'm ready.
Oh yes,
We gotta find a
yes.
new planet, man.
Yeah. We need. You need all the tinfoil on the planet right now. Yes. And
Yeah, man, we just need to dig out. Like man, I had to take a break because like I was going over all these weird, like, oh my god, there's like 73 sexualities now, and I don't even know where the pronouns are. And like just going down that rabbit hole, I felt like I was gonna rip my hair out. I was just like, Lord, just I can't take it no more. Like I had to take a break because it was hurting my brain. You ever like watch something and you're trying to understand, but it's like hurts your brain?
oh yeah, yeah. Basically, when when it causes a lot of stress, these situations.
You think that's what it is? It's like they're stressing us out with this crap.
yeah, because I studied some things about health and stuff because I'm interested in it, and basically with when people have more stress, it raises cortisol, which depletes the natural hormone levels, and it causes people to get anxiety and bad health. And it's good to take breaks from this and do different things for your own good. And basically, that's what they want. They want everybody to everything to go down.
They want us to like they want to mentally have us have a mental breakdown. I'm starting to think like the World War III is not gonna be like with bullets. It's gonna be like a psychological war for the mind. I
Exactly.
mean, if they can get control of our mind, they can control our bodies.
Right. Right. And also, Sonia has some very good questions in the chat, and she was saying about the aliens as spirits. And so, as I learned, that these creatures are interdimensional, and the angels, so they are like spirits. Yes, they are. That makes sense. And but they can come in different forms during the different time periods. And I believe in Germany there is an alien sighting in the 14 or around that time, like the old like medieval times. There is some alien sightings down there.
Well, you know they solved the pyramid. You
Mm-hmm.
know how they did them? Water.
Okay.
At one time, where the pyramids were, if you look, there was a guy who was like an archaeologist. He found where there was like these docks for boats, And at that time, it wasn't desert. There was a big old Nile, like, because every so often there's been like areas that had water and it just disappeared.
Uh huh. Yes. Like in California right now.
Drought.
Like in the West right now.
Yeah, yeah. So it's like, but that's forced drought. This was like they had a big old river
Mm-hmm.
that went through there, and that's how they moved a lot of the stuff. Was like to get the rock, the as big as in bricks was.
Mm-hmm.
It They had tools back then. I don't think we give them people a credit enough of how smart they really were. I
Right.
mean, they knew how to embalm people and stuff.
Oh yeah. You know, my grandma when she was young in New Orleans, she, in our city, she worked at the museum and she worked at the King Tut the exhibit, and she saw all that stuff, and it's really cool. And I knew about it since I was young. I got the book, and it talks about how they took the brain out of the nose, and it was pretty interesting.
Yeah, and you think about what they've been doing to people sticking stuff in their nose. I was like, they trying to scramble our brain.
Right. Right.
Yeah, you think you brought up the nose thing.
Hmm.
But if you think about it, if they had if they had the capability to move bricks with water,
Hmm.
how come we can't do remake the same thing in this day and age?
Yeah, it's a good question. And also, I believe that they had electricity, and there is some depictions of them having electricity and whatnot. It's a good question, especially if it wasn't passed down through the Romans or the different peoples of the ancient past. It is
Yeah, how the hell
interesting.
they figure that shit out?
Right, right. Yeah, I know, and it brings up some very good questions, and I do think very good points, and I'm glad you brought that up and explained that. And also, I do think the other ideas are interesting about the fallen angels appearing as aliens, helping them do or teach them how to do different things. But I believe humans at the same time were going to come up with these things, and I do believe we could have had outside help. I remember I studied, and I'm going to get to chat. They're telling me stuff. I'm going to get to them in a moment. But so basically, with the even with witchcraft and stuff, that's some kind of technology, although it's evil, and that's basically those fallen angels teaching these people to do things the same way maybe they taught people in the past how to do things. That's an idea, maybe.
What's another thing that that guy pointed out about that Jezebel spirit? It's the want to be God, right?
They want to be what?
So
Pardon?
they're wanting to be God, like
Oh
to
yeah.
erase that there was a creator.
Oh
Like
yeah.
there's creation and creator. It all goes back to like erasing the fact that we were created,
Oh right.
right?
Right. Exactly.
Everything had to be created. Like you can't just make nothing out of nothing. Even
Yeah.
the smartest scientists agree that they don't know what his name was, but they know that creation had to be created, right? You can't have. I was
Yeah.
talking to this guy who's
Excuse me a
atheist.
moment.
He was
I will say something. I didn't have the screen right for a second, and I had my picture on, and it was blocking the view of the audience. So I was just kind of like, for a second, I kind of made some hand gestures, but not at you, but at what I did with the screen. Okay, you go on.
well. All I could see is you. I can't see the screen.
All right.
It's like you're in StreamYard with me, so you're like your screen on YouTube is different than what I'm seeing.
No, I know. I'll just chat so everybody can know why I did that. All right.
But did you the Lincoln of they're trying to erase like that there was a creator,
Oh yeah,
and
of
then you
course.
think about the way it's weird. Um,
Hmm.
like
Oh yeah.
how far down the rabbit hole have you gone with
Oh.
the
I've gone down the rabbit hole of
Egyptian stuff?
like Alice in
Because
Wonderland.
that's what I see. I seen the Egyptian stuff when I pulled up on here, but like how far? Have you figured out like what happened to them people?
Okay, so your question, very good questions. And I'll answer them. So, what happened to those
Okay.
people?
Yeah, like why did they leave the pyramids? They were chilling, you know what I'm
Oh,
saying?
yeah, good question. Very good question. And I see chat is telling me stuff, and I'll get to them in a moment. So, basically, I think I really don't know exactly what happened to cause their civilization to fall. And I did study Egyptian history, and also, I have I'm gonna get everybody that's talking to me in a moment. So, basically, I don't know exactly what happened to their civilization. Let's see if I could figure this out. But I know, there was the God caused their civilization to have problems. During when the God sent the plagues upon their nations. Say, well, okay,
Just relax.
yeah,
Do one thing at a time.
yes,
Don't feel rushed. Okay?
no, I know,
Who's who's that? I
yes,
know it's hectic when you're like streaming. I found out that hard way. Like looking at the chat, trying to have a conversation, trying to stay on track. Try just it'll be okay. Don't try to
yeah,
overdo it.
no, I know,
Aliens, they keep saying.
right, it's just,
Don't feel
it's
rushed.
kind of, I'm just letting the people know I'm gonna get to them, because I have people all over the. It's like I need to be Davy Jones from the Pirates of the Caribbean with the technicals to figure this out. So, okay, this makes sense.
Well, you know you could put your chat on the screen,
Oh
right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
it
I
makes
do
it
have them on the
easier.
screen, and they're saying a lot of stuff, and they're
Oh,
cool
how
people.
many platforms you streaming on
No, I'm
then?
just streaming on YouTube, and my good friends, I'm glad they came, and they're talking and whatnot, and they're asking me things, and also
Oh,
I had this other mechanism where people could call into the show actually right now and talk to us. I'm gonna get to some of your questions in a moment, and you see, basically, and so the reason why Egypt fell was a centuries long drought. This makes perfect sense because of the way their terrain is an economic crisis and opportunistic foreign invaders. So, this caused the collapse of the Egyptian civilization.
so the water that I mentioned is true, like how they moved the bricks to build the pyramids. So if there
Mm
was a big drought,
hmm. Mm hmm.
then it squeezed the bricks, like how they got them all the way they did. But how did they get them so perfect? Is the question. Like I mean, they had to have some special tools, man. They
Yes.
really did. Over electricity.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
think they had some kind of, they used the water as an
Because
engine.
you can make electricity with water, can't you?
Yeah.
Hydro water in it. Yeah. The wheel thing with the
Mm
mill. That's how you get that electricity with the water in it.
hmm. Mm hmm. Yeah, because
Because we can
it's
we
like,
get
yeah,
we get
the,
power
the
from
rhythm of the
water,
water.
don't we?
Yes. Is the water doing,
Yeah.
yeah. And that's basically, you're
Yeah,
right.
because there's different ways of water. Like that, yes, it's water. It's the windmill looking thing that makes power, electricity. Yeah.
Right. And I will say about the addressing. I'm going to open the calls, and they could ask us questions and things in a moment. And basically, I am. So the reason with the guy, yes, Dark Meta said some interesting points, and he could call in and elaborate on it in a moment. But so basically, yeah, you can't like create something out of nothing, as I was saying. So, uh, base Norm's funny. So basically, yeah, because us, the cat right here, the bird that's been tweeting the whole time, it didn't just come in existence by itself, right? And with God, although this will be hard to understand through our kind of logic, in the realm that it exists in, it's just was never created. It just lives in a place. It exists. God exists outside of time, place and a space like we do. It exists beyond that. And that's basically why it was uncreated. And we may not understand this answer, this reasoning, and people don't have to believe it. And maybe, they could come up with their own ideas if they would like. But that's basically, like a fish in water versus us on land. We can't relate to them and they can't relate to us, how we could breathe on land and how they could be in the sea.
Yeah, you bringing up like so.
Okay, so you
Do
understand.
you think that possibly when Adam and Eve, right, they ate from that tree? There was two trees in the garden. There was the tree of knowledge and then the tree of life. And I think the reason we got the boot is because if we ate from the tree of life, we would have been forever scarred, right? We could not. It would have been an eternity. So he had to get us out of the garden before eating out of the tree of life to make it forever. I think there's possibly when we ate from the tree of knowledge, which is the tree that gave us knowledge of good and evil, you
Mm-hmm.
think that it possibly programmed us
Yes. So basically, with the very good
to
question.
know all this stuff?
Yeah, basically what happened was when we ate from the forbidden fruit, it must have, when the ancestors did that, it must have caused some kind of a glitch, and it reprogrammed us to be like that, to be corrupted. But it didn't happen right away. It happened a little bit over time, and that's how it happened. It, basically did that slowly over time. And so to answer your question, you're correct. Yes. Now, I'm going to get to the calls in a moment, and they could ask us questions. All right.
Okay.
All right.
I'll be a good sport.
All right. So I'm going to get this thing up and running, and one at a time.
I'm ready. I am locked in. The spaceship
Yes.
are ready.
Yes.
How was your day, though? Was
My
it good?
yes. My day has been going very well. I was, I'm with my, I stay with my family, and I was helping them out with the cats. Like I was watching the cats, and
Oh, cats are interesting creatures.
yes, and basically, my grandma was in the hospital for a little while, and she was, sick, because she fainted just for no reason. I was watching Latina was there, Trey, Trey was live. You know Trey. I met you there. I don't have to explain what his channel is. So Trey was, he was going live. I was like, I miss Trey, and they're like, okay. And then Trey goes live the next day, and then my grandma was like passed out, and the hospital goes and takes her. And then I'm watching the cat Normal, and in the garage, and the other cats. And I usually spend some time with them before I go inside. And after I walk around outside and just look at the sky and listen to music and things, and I come back in and see the cats. But this time I'm seeing the cats on YouTube right now. All right.
Does she take vitamins?
Um. Yes, I do take vitamins.
No,
Hathorn.
your grandma. Like,
Oh. Well,
are you making sure that she's like getting her
yeah.
vitamins?
Yes.
Because when they get old, they think like the women need more folic acid, and just make sure she's getting a multivitamin. I have to give my mom one because she's getting old, man.
Yes.
The food don't have what we need in it anymore. Is she doing better though?
My grandma is doing better. Yeah, she is recovering well, and she's not doing what she used to. She's taking it easy. My mom, she's been doing a lot of the stuff with the cats, and because my grandma she rescued a bunch of cats, and
Oh God,
she rescued a lot of cats. Well, not a lot of cats. There's not.
my
There,
friend's mom,
hmm?
they so they pay you to be adopted parents for cats now,
That's
or
good to know.
my friend get paid for that. She they give her the cat food and everything, and she just houses the cat until they get a forever home.
Oh,
You
that's
know
a good
the
idea, but we just keep them as pets.
okay. So do they keep your grandma on her toes?
Yeah, yes, yes. I remember, she got to see them, and there's two left because I go and I bury them in the field when they die of old age, and basically, that's what I did do that, and yes, my girl likes them, and I'm starting to get the hang of it and whatnot, and they're doing that with me, and yeah, she likes them a lot, and they have a good relationship together.
That's good. Does the cat try to get the animals on the television? Does
I
it watch
don't.
TV?
Yeah, it does watch TV.
Okay, yeah. The cat my son rescued. Oh God. It sits like right by the TV and tries to get whatever animal is on the television. I have to like get the cat. I'm like he likes to watch TV with it. They be watching the animal shows and the cat will go over there like it's on the prowl.
Hmm.
And then to
Yes.
try to like attack the TV. It's weird. It thinks it's real.
Oh yes, I know they don't. That is very funny that they don't understand that, or they don't know about the technology and stuff we know about, and they're not able to really figure that out because they're little cats. They're like little critters. And
Yeah, because if you put
yes.
fish on your screen, the cat will try to get the fish.
Oh, you mean if we had fish?
No, like if you have a big screen TV, right, and you put fish on the screen, like you're like one of those aquarium kind of YouTube. You've seen the videos where it just shows the
I
fish.
gotta try that.
The cat will try to get the fish. I'm telling you, because that's what my son gets entertained by with the cat. If he puts the fish on there, and then the cat tries to get the fish, and we've told the cat you can't get it, but it's like it doesn't click.
Right. Right.
But it's funny to watch them. Like I've seen dogs do it too. Like they watch the television
Hmm.
and they try to attack the television because they think it's real.
Oh yeah, yeah, and I gotta try that with Bubbles right here. We could try to
Bubbles,
yeah, my
that's the cat's name.
yeah, I named him Sam, and then everybody else gave him different names. It was funny, and I like the name Bubbles. It's cute, and Sam Bubbles. I call him different things. My family, during Katrina, actually, it was really, they, we had to re-rescue them.
Yeah, Katrina was bad.
Yeah,
I remember all the people coming up from Louisiana to Georgia,
mhm.
and I had friends that went down there with Red Cross and cleaned up down there. They never got it straight, even after Katrina. I mean, they let them people in the FEMA camp, the FEMA trailers and stuff like that. I think some people still have them, the FEMA trailers.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. That basically. Can you repeat that real quick again?
The FEMA trailers, people still have them down there
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
from Katrina.
yeah, that makes sense. That's basically pretty much what's going on with the down here. They're just kind of backwards. The people, I remember they're kind of yeah. Before Katrina, it was a mix between whites and blacks. It was a white area, then eventually it became a black area, and white kind of blacks and whites together. Then Katrina came, and then it got like everybody left, and it was just these kind of these bad people. Not bad people. A lot of them are pretty cool. I mean, I have great neighbors. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about these, you know, bad ones, like kind of criminal type people. They're kind of like took over the region.
Well, murder was high there. It just wasn't like I think when the storm happened, it destroyed a lot of the area,
Mm.
and people got when storms hit, people migrate, and not always the good people migrate. You
Right.
know,
Right.
so it's like you're in that area
Mm-hmm.
where it's where the storm hit, or you close to it.
Um, Basically, my area was like 3 feet of water.
So it cleared up.
Oh,
Did they get a
okay.
levee
They
down there finally?
okay. This is what happened.
Like, did they raise the levee?
My area was very specific. So with Mister, it was some. There was this thing, a body of water. These fools made called Mister Go. You know, they were jackasses to people. So they made this thing over the south of me, and it was this body of water that kind of went into the city. And what happened was they went in, and my area wouldn't have flooded if it wasn't for that thing. And basically, it overflowed, and the levees broke over here, and then it flooded over here. But the other areas, they were just weak levees. And my teacher from school, her father worked for the Army Corps of Engineers, and she was.
Yeah, I think they let stuff happen so they could bring work because there was a lot of work that happened during Katrina. They could prevent a lot of stuff. So basically,
Yeah, that's basically what it was. It was like a canal, or it was some kind of thing like, or a stream. It was kind of like that. And also, now I will say I did pray for a bigger backyard when I was down the street in my one of my grandparents' houses, and I wanted a bigger yard, and I got the bigger yard I wanted because I moved next door to it for the hurricane happening. So it's I was very blessed after Katrina, but it was not too nice. My grandparents had to repair their rental properties, and that was pretty. They had to do a lot of stuff on it.
cover it.
Everybody sued them, those people, and they easily got out of it, And yeah, my grandma got screwed by the insurance people, and these other people, maybe they're a little bit, it's like, they're like, okay, these people are going to give a lot, and this people were not. They look kind of different than these people, so we're going to give them less.
I think it's like rigged the way they do the insurance because they like when I was looking up they have something called escape clauses, right? And it's just for insurance companies. Like if something massive happens that they personally can't be sued, that they can opt out. Basically, what is it? Chapter 13 or something like that. Chapter 7 or chapter 13, where they're not liable, and that's why we do insurance and stuff like that. But you know what they've been doing with those escape clauses?
Huh.
When I was looking up Biden back when he was in the Senate, he was adding escape clauses to constitutional amendments. Escape clause makes it where they are not responsible. Like nobody's held responsible. They have a back door basically. So that's how they've been passing a lot of stuff, and nobody's been held accountable. It's because of the escape clause.
Yes, and I want you to keep on. You keep elaborating, keep talking. I'm gonna be doing something real quick. You keep going.
Beat me up, Scotty.
I've heard that before. Yes. So okay.
So
So you going?
you're basically you're in the Katrina area.
Yes. I'm in the Katrina area, because basically, um, as I said, now with Latina, I will tell her that yes, my Instagram. I didn't. I saw she wrote me, but I'm gonna go in a moment and read what she said. But so basically, yes, I am in the Katrina zone, but Metairie and Kenner are still Katrina zones. They flooded too, just not as bad as New Orleans because their levees didn't break like they did over here. And people, now there are theories that the levees were blown up because they told me, the people that were here, they told me in the morning there is no flooding. Then they heard a big explosion or a boom, and then it like all started flooding.
like since all that happened,
Hmm.
right? Has the area ever been rebuilt fully?
There's still, it's better now. They knocked down, just last year, they knocked down houses that were on my street that were vacant, and there's some old relatives. They're older white people, and they moved to the North Shore because of, this area was gotten a little bit different and a little bit more criminal, and they didn't want to be around here, so they're old and they went to another area in the North Shore.
So
And
the white flight, basically.
yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
basically, but there was blacks and whites here together. Just when the crime rose up, this is when the trouble happened. And then people don't want to be around a bunch of crime, so I mean I don't blame them. But my family didn't want to leave their home and their place and just give it to the people, and let the area get worse and worse because if a criminal, and the kind of shady people get it, and it gets worse and worse. But it has to do with the crime. Like I see it all the time. Like there's basically these, you hear the gunshots in the distance. There's you hear in the news someone robbed this person or that person, and they don't really dress right and they're violent to each other. So I understand why people don't want to live around that.
I think it's not the color. I think it's the mentality. Um, People are emboldened right now because, the riots and everything else. They think that they can do anything they want to. Like, I tried to tell somebody, like, the white privilege stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
I told that maybe you're telling these white folks that they have white privilege. They might just decide they can do anything to anybody because now that they got this idea that they got a privilege. You ever seen the Beavis and Butthead white privilege video?
Oh yes. Oh yes.
That's what I mean. Like, I don't think like it's like they're setting people up because they tell these black people they're like, oh, there's white privilege, but y'all don't realize it's not going to make all of them guilty. Like, they're not all going to have guilt. They're going to be like, okay, you saying I got privilege? Well, then I ain't got to listen to you. I ain't got to care about you. I'm on top of the world. I'm an entitled man or woman, right? So you see these people acting the fool because uh, the
All right.
entitlement.
Now we got a caller in. All right. I'm about to get to him in a moment. 518.
But
You're on
did
the
you?
line. Who am I
So
speaking to?
like
Wait.
your
This
area?
caller. All right. All right.
Okay.
Okay, caller. You want
Hi,
to talk?
this is Norm.
Norm. All right, man. What's
Yeah,
happening?
how you doing?
I'm doing good, man.
Good.
Doing good. How about you?
Excellent. Yeah.
All right.
I'm a little bit stuffed up because I've been swimming. I've been swimming in the pool lately.
Okay.
Just figured I'd call in and give you what I've been studying over the last maybe 15 years.
Okay. All right. I've looked
Just
into
about either. If you look at the different cultures around the world, there was a lot of like Jesus-like figures,
Mhm.
and I believe those were aliens because some of the aliens that have visited our planet had good intentions. I think the majority of them had bad intentions. And so, I have no doubt that in like 1,000 years, if we wanted to go to another planet that had some type of beings on it, we could easily recreate everything that took place during the time of Jesus.
Mhm.
I don't think that would be even that difficult in like 1,000 years for us.
Mhm.
So, as far as the cats go, I've had cats my entire life, and the Egyptians believed that cats protected them from aliens or the evil spirit of aliens.
Mhm.
So that's relative. And my favorite movie that I've ever my favorite movie of all times was created by Jim Henson, The Dark Crystal, the
Okay.
original Dark Crystal,
I'll check it
and
out.
kind of signifies how, yeah, that's just the greatest movie of all time during the '80s, during the early '80s. So I mean, he was just obviously influenced. The Muppets were influenced by the cats that he owned, and that was actually his very last movie. him and Frank Oz made that movie. They spent 2.5 years making that movie, and everybody ridiculed them for spending such a long length of time. But that movie just proved that those two were the Muppet Masters. And they got to play characters, the Muppets. So Jim was actually, he was the lead character in The Dark Crystal, and Frank Oz was Olga. They got to play other characters too, but that movie is mind-boggling. So,
Right.
As far as I believe, yeah, sure.
You go on.
As far as what I think has been going on. Sorry? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, you go on.
As far as what I think has been going on, I think, sure. I believe that sometime in 2012, that the Mayans were correct when they predicted the end of the calendar was going to be December 21st on 2012. Mm-hmm. I believe they were correct. I believe that our government or another government in the world decided to disrupt the timeline to try to prevent, future events, possibly like they knew that Trump was going to get elected in 2016, so they had to disrupt things because they didn't want us to know the truth about what was going to happen.
Right.
And I believe that's how, the cartoon, The Simpsons, that's how they knew. They were able to predict the future with a lot of different events because, if they were aware of the future, then obviously our government or other governments were aware of what was going to happen with Trump and all these other events. September 11th. September 11th was obviously an inside job. Right. There's no possible way that Building 7 came down just by itself.
I saw that.
It was controlled demolition.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, there's no way. It's just like some of these things. And then the craziest part is that nobody seems to remember is that Donald Rumsfeld, who was the Treasury Secretary, he came out the day before September 11th on September 10th and announced that our government was missing $2.3 trillion. Just disappeared, so now we're missing $2.3 trillion, and he announces that on September 10th, and then, September 11th, how convenient, the towers come down, and of course the records that that would explain where the $2.3 trillion went were in the towers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then that whole attack with the Pentagon, that was another crazy, elaborate setup that they decided to perpetrate so we can go after a bunch of people in Iraq that were riding camels. It's like, it doesn't make any sense.
Right.
It's like, well, yeah. So, maybe those people were involved in the destruction of the towers, but if that's true, then they allowed it because they were fully aware of what was going to take place. So it was either we did it or we allowed people to do it, and that was just a convenient way to hide the $2.3 trillion that conveniently disappears the day before, or conveniently disappears prior to this, and then they just announce it the day before. So everybody gets all, it's all a distraction. Hey, pay attention to this while we're doing something else over there. So I really believe that, regardless of what you think of Trump's personality, Trump was a magician that woke everybody up. Mm-hmm. And he made us aware of fake news. And I got dragged into this I feel like I got dragged into it like a energetic street fight. I was minding my own business, just, hanging out with girls and watching old school cartoons. And then all of a sudden in 2019, I start seeing how Paul Joseph Watson was explaining that that they're just making stuff up about Trump and they're trying to destroy him, and so they banned Paul Joseph Watson off of Facebook and Instagram, or no, not Instagram, but Twitter, off of Facebook and Twitter to try to silence him. And so I started looking at this, and I'm like, wow, this is really blatant. There's definitely a reason they're trying to silence everybody who's speaking positively about Trump. So I was like, this is just really blatant. So then, like I said, in early 2019,
Mhm.
I got dragged into this whole mess, like an energetic street fight, like someone who's just like, pay attention to this or else, that's the way I look at it. So I spend almost at least an hour a day just researching things since 2019 and
Oh
just
yeah.
come to all these different conclusions about, yeah,
Oh yeah. Because
absolutely.
yeah, they're good information. Because I also been studying these things, and I was, when I was younger, I kind of like wasn't focused on politics. And around 2016, I was at school, and had like a little, like I was doing like after school to do a little business and different things, and I would um, talk the politics. I was always conservative. I just wasn't sure about Trump because I was kind of not really. I didn't really know what was going on. And then the media didn't like him, and I don't trust the media. But at the time, I kind of wasn't aware of what was going on. Then later on, I was like, oh yeah, I could see what's going on, and I think it's important that we expose this, and that the rights to bear arms are not taken away.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the same thing. I didn't vote for Trump in 2016 because as much as I knew Hillary was like the worst possible choice on the planet, I still didn't. I didn't dislike Trump. I didn't like Trump. I just was like neutral.
Yeah.
And I didn't know enough to vote for him. I wish I had.
Yeah.
Looking back, I mean, I absolutely knew Hillary was just an evil witch. I remember in high school, this was like maybe like in the early, well, when I first entered into high school, like sometime in the early 90s, I remember somebody had a cutout of Hillary on their lawn for Halloween, and they dressed her up like a witch. And it just so resonated with me. I was just like, oh my God, it's just like, this is insane. Like, why do I feel like this is whoever did this? Like, this makes perfect sense. Like, she's just terrible. When she came out, when Hillary came out and, she played the victim, she's like, oh yeah, I wasn't aware that Bill was doing all these things. And I was just like, oh my God, this woman is just she's just lying. She's just blatantly lying about this. She's been fully, her and Bill never had like a regular relationship.
Oh no.
They didn't get married because they wanted to be a couple. They just thought that they could be like the greatest superpower that this world has ever seen. In a way, they were right. I mean, they just decided to marry for power, and Bill really had no interest in her, like sexually. And I believe she doesn't really have any interest, ever had any interest in him. I mean, as far as I can conclude, she's lesbian. Doesn't even like men.
Yeah.
She's a man hater, as far as I can tell. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because basically, I just feel that you're very right about that. Because it does seem like more of a business partnership than a relationship.
Oh, it was a business operation. Yeah, it was a business deal. That's all it was. Just another business deal. And she tolerated Bill doing whatever he wanted to do. So there was no surprise in her mind when he was, doing what he was doing. But she didn't. That was not why they got married. That wasn't part of the deal. The deal was they could do whatever they want. They just wanted to become the world's greatest superpower.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, exactly. It's all about their lust for power, and it goes to their head. Like how basically we see today, in all kinds of different factions and things. How people let the power get to their head and they just become monsters. Because how we have. What do you think? How we have all these older politicians that just don't get voted out?
Oh yeah, like perfect example is Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer. Like Nancy Pelosi didn't even have to really. She didn't even have to try to campaign. Like she didn't have to do that because she just was like in the. She was getting power from the reptilians or aliens or whatever, and she just
I can't hear him. I had to cut her.
I have no doubt about that. I mean, the only reason why
I think they got married because that's like
because of Trump. I mean, I think that's the most positive thing that Trump did at the end.
All right, hold on a second. So Norm, I didn't mean to cut you off, but my co-host here, Alice, wanted to say something. All right, you go, Alice.
Well,
Sure,
he was talking about
absolutely.
Hillary
Sure.
and why they got married, right?
Uh-huh.
Um, I think it's because like when you go to court,
Hmm.
they can't uh they can't what you call it they can't like be a witness against you. So it's like the perfect Bonnie and Clyde
Hmm.
if you think about it.
Yeah, what do you think about that, Norm?
So
Wait, hold on a second.
that's the loophole.
Oh, I didn't hear what she said. I only hear your voice right
Oh,
now.
okay. I'm glad I learned that. So she was basically saying, and I want to figure out how to link that together. But so that would
Yeah, yeah,
explain
no
why
problem.
you didn't detect that. So, and Latinas tell me basically the same thing that I just said. So, and thank you, Latina, for helping me out here. And so basically, they're like Bonnie and Clyde,
Yeah,
Hillary and
sure.
Bill. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yes,
Yeah.
Norm agrees.
Yeah,
Alice.
I mean, all the things that she did,
Yeah, because
Haiti,
if you think about the
Right, hold
certain
on a
what
second.
she
93
did,
Right,
crime
right.
bill.
Hold on.
if you ever,
Okay, Norm, you
sure.
go.
Yeah.
Okay, Norm, you go.
Oh,
Norm, you
yeah, I mean,
continue.
a great movie to watch is that, I'm sorry,
Norm, you continue.
go for it.
Okay, you can talk.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, a terrific movie to watch is Secret Soldiers, the 13 hour. The movie's called 13 Hours, The Secret Soldiers, and explains beautifully like how she just abandoned those people and how they were attacked. The embassy was attacked, and the people that actually were involved in that movie. There's a video about them explaining, Hillary's part in just abandoning them and not caring that they were dying when they could have easily been rescued. So, you know, I the only time I ever voted prior to Trump in 2020
Hmm.
was for Ross Perot in 1992, and I mean, I knew I didn't like Bill or Hillary, and I knew I didn't have any interest in Bush Junior or Senior. I mean, I knew that they were all connected. But then when Ross Perot came around and he decided to run independently in 2000, or not 2000, in 1992,
Hmm.
that's when I decided I wanted to, I had just been able to, I think I was just about, I don't know, I don't remember how old I was, but I was able to vote somehow. And I remember voting for him and then realizing that unless you're either Republican or Democrat, there's no way they're going to let you win.
Right. Oh yeah, I agree. It's like a slaughterhouse, and you can either go to the cow. This could go to either the right to the Republican one, or the Democrat slaughterhouse. You know that kind of logic.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Like they're both.
Yeah.
It's like
I mean,
two
it's
wings of the same bird.
there's either you either. Well, I don't really like when people say that like so much. Like I don't agree with. I mean, at one point it was,
Okay.
but when Trump got involved, there's been a big separation because Trump wasn't, a regular Republican. I mean, you can say he was a Republican, but he really wasn't. He ran as a Republican, so he would be able to become president as a Republican, but he split the party, which was terrific because we see what's going on with all these rhinos, like Lindsey Graham, and, there's so many others that are just, they're not real Republicans by any means.
Right. Of
So
course. Of course.
we've got some terrific Republicans, available, but I'd say more than half of them are rhinos,
Right.
easily.
Yes. And 1 second. Alice, you still there?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I'm still here.
So Latina wanted me to tell you if you um, mute yourself and if you listen to another device, like to the stream, it'll make sense what's going on here.
Yeah, that's what
Oh,
I
okay.
did.
Yeah, I only have the one
No,
I just
you're doing
wanted to.
fine, Norm. You're doing fine,
phone
Norm.
on right now.
It just said
Yeah,
it's kind of like
yeah.
a virtual place. I mean, and this could be built on in the future, where like for ABL Live and the different people I observed, it's like there's people at a table talking, and I have callers in a show. I'm trying to imply this logic where there's two people like her and I, and then talking to you. But I understand that this is a new idea and it needs to be more tweaked. And this whole thing's a big experiment that was never done before, and I'm glad that you all are participating. So yeah, Alice, no, Norm, you're doing fine. You're doing fine calling in. But Alice, you could listen to it on another device or mute yourself or whatnot, and it would make sense what's going on here. All right.
Yeah, that's why I
Yeah, no,
spoke up,
absolutely.
because he brought up Hillary
I don't have another
and
device at the
the
And
marriage thing.
I've been traveling
That I
a
wanted
lot
to make
lately.
the point
also,
that
I'll
they
say,
get married and they
Alice,
can't talk about each other.
Okay. So, Norm, for a moment, I'm gonna ask Alice a question, and I'll get back to you in a moment. You just stay there. So,
Sure.
Alice,
Yeah,
so you can,
absolutely.
Alice, you continue saying what you're gonna say.
No, I heard him talking about Hillary and then the Simpsons. Okay, if we think about,
Mhm.
he brought up the Simpsons. They have to tell us like before they do stuff. So if you think about our government owns Hollywood. They fund it. So our media has been letting us know in increments about what they're doing. Like, so
Right.
they can have plausible deniability.
Mhm.
Like, we told you. They've been using it through movies and stuff. That way, we're completely like, this seems like a movie, right? So, if you look at what's going on,
Mhm.
they're telling us what they're going to do right before, and they've been doing it for years through the movie. Because the government is who approves the movie.
Yes. Also, now I'll say, Norm. So basically, she was saying how the Hollywood is controlled by the government, and they influence, all these movies and different things. Well, what are your thoughts on that, Norm?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Hollywood is ultra corrupt.
Hmm.
I mean, that's why there's very few Hollywood actors and actresses that can speak up or even support Trump. And the ones that do, like Clint Eastwood and, there's other ones too that have been able to. We really got to try to support them because they, like, I don't know if it's reptilians or aliens or, the combination of that and our corrupt government won't allow them to, freely talk about what's going on because that's the last thing. I mean, that's the reason why they've got Andrew Tate in custody right now with no charges because, he became too powerful, then started explaining what was really going on, and they had to, get rid of him.
I
So
think he
he's in
just got
jail.
under
Him and
house
his
arrest.
brother.
He just
Yeah.
got out of house. They just released him on house arrest.
Oh, that's gonna be really interesting to hear what he has to say.
Yeah,
Him and his brother.
yeah, because
Yeah.
they were locked up for a little while. I remember that, and he kept talking to this dude he knows, Aiden is his name. He was just like they're playing chess, and he was kind of like they're messing around, and he was just like, something's gonna he's eventually they're gonna get to him. He kept saying that over and over. He was telling him life advice and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was talking about the simulation and how it's part of the Matrix.
Hmm.
It's just that I disagree a little bit with how he explains it because once you understand that we are in a simulation, you have total control over it.
Right.
If you want to. So I mean, I believe like I was in school to become a licensed massage therapist and a craniosacral therapist in 2012, and I remember like I started researching quantum mechanics and quantum uh, physics in in the summer of 2012. I watched a movie called The Simulation Hypothesis, and it's still the greatest short film I've ever seen in my entire life, and explains that we're obviously in a simulation, that time and space is an illusion, that all points are equal distance from each other in space. And basically, it breaks it down like, it's pretty simple. Like, the speed of light is the maximum speed of the processor. And that's why when you start looking at gravity and how gravity distorts time, like planets, it makes perfect sense because it puts too much stress on the processor that's processing all the data. For me, it was really when I started looking at quantum bits. When you look at what makes up everything in the known universe, every object, every structure in our universe, everything's made up of quantum bits. But here's what's crazy is they're all exactly the same size. When you look at them, they're all exactly the same size. They're all exactly the same shape. So if we were looking at like tiles, like 1 inch by 1 inch tiles, if those represented quantum bits, there would be no such thing as like a tile that's 1.2 or like 1.5 inches or 2 inches or 2.5 inches. It just doesn't exist. They're all exactly the same size. They're exactly the same shape. And researchers have been able to look at the coding, and the coding is a string of either 1 or 0s.
Right.
And it makes perfect sense because that's the way it was put. That's the way all the information in our known universe is put through a processor. So objects are only like potentials of they're just like potentials of energy. So when we're not observing something, it doesn't necessarily exist at all. It's only when things are being observed do they actually exist. So like light particles, when they're being observed, act a certain way, and when they're not being observed, they act a certain way, and they always know when they're being observed. And what's crazy about that is if the observer has their eyes closed and they all of a sudden open up their eyes, the event goes backwards in time. So for instance, like if you're looking at the light from a star, and it took, let's say, like, I don't know, like 1 billion years for that light to travel from that distant star to your eye, if you just happen to look up in the night sky and see that, then that event took place. But if you weren't looking at it, that event never took place. So if you had your eyes closed and you're looking up at that star and then all of a sudden you open your eyes, the event takes place, but it goes backwards in time. And they can prove this through the double slit experiment, and then I'll allow you to do this double slit experiment yourself. So it's not something that we can't actually do ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, that's some very interesting points.
But I'm sorry. Yeah. So after I watched this movie, The Simulation Hypothesis, back in the summer of 2012, I was pissed. I was like pissed off for like 3 days straight, because once I realized that we're in a simulation and that everybody's been lying to us, and the government's fully aware of this, and they've been controlling everybody and manipulating everybody because they know they're obviously, if I'm aware of it, then they've been aware of it. So this was a big like controlled experiment on us. Like we're right now with, you know, everything with the scaredemic, we're in the greatest psychological psyop in human history.
Right. Yeah.
This is just one big controlled experiment by the different governments of the world to see how much they can scare us into doing their bidding.
Yes. Now, Alice, you're still there? Let's see if she's still there. Well, I think she muted. That's right. So basically,
yeah, I'm
okay,
still here.
She's still here. All right. So, did you hear what he said?
Yeah.
Okay. So
he's talking about light.
do you have any thoughts on that you want to say?
Interesting is, so he's saying like the light goes and back, and
yes, it was a lot of
light.
So
it was a lot.
Right. He's talking about like different things in physics, and yes.
Okay.
Right. So and basically, okay, thank you. And Norm, Norm, what do you think about how so tell me, what do you think of the aliens?
Well, I think there's many different races of aliens. I don't think there's just one type. I think there's got to be maybe like at least 50 different races of aliens, and maybe some of them that came to this planet, and many different ones showed up, obviously, had decent intentions, but the majority of them had really terrible intentions. And I also don't think they got along with each other. I don't think they were like, I think they were fighting over this planet for the gold. Because if you look back into, I think that's the whole reason why they showed up in the first place and built the 3 Great Pyramids, because they were here to harvest gold. And they were, in the pyramids themselves, they were like energy plants. So they somehow were storing like chemicals
You go on.
Sorry, I was hearing something in the background.
Yeah, that was me. That
Yeah.
was me.
So I mean, they were
multitasking. Yeah, go on.
okay. Yeah, no problem. So the pyramids themselves were like power plants, and then they stored some type of chemicals in them, and then like the ships would show up, and there would be like a beam or something that would come out of the pyramids, and it would like power up their ships, or it would somehow power up some type of thing that they needed to then take it to wherever they were going, or wherever they needed to go, or whatever they needed to do. I mean, here's the craziest part, is there's no hieroglyphics at all in those three great pyramids. There's not like a single marking of anything that relates to the time when those pyramids were built. And the Egyptian government, I mean, they're pretty smart. I mean, the Egyptians themselves, if they didn't claim that the Egyptians built it, some other like culture or country would have come along and said, well, no, the Egyptians didn't build this, we built it, so now it's ours. So the Egyptians just pretended that the Egyptians, the Egyptian governments or whatever, they just pretended the Egyptians built it, but there's absolutely no possible way that they built it. It's just impossible. It's just the things are held to too high standards.
Exactly.
I mean, you're looking at the structures, and they're too heavy. First of all, they're way too heavy. Even with modern tools, we can't move those blocks into place, and they're held to such high standards. I mean, you're looking at things that are like that people built these things. So once you understand that, after people showed up, and people weren't even in those areas prior to them being built, we know that for a fact. So then they show up and they are like engraved, like they just like chip away at part of one of the stones, and they put like a hieroglyphic on it, and then it becomes theirs. But the Egyptian government knows that. They've been hiding the truth in this for decades.
Yes. Now, I'll tell you what some of our companions in the chat, and also,
Sure.
So basically, some of our comrades were saying that.
If I put you on speakerphone, I can read the chat. I'm sorry.
Oh no!
If I put you on speakerphone, I can check out. I can look at my phone and read.
You can look at the chat and answer their questions through here. That's fine.
Okay, 1 second. I just didn't want to put you on speakerphone because I didn't know how clearly my voice would be. Hold on a second.
I'm not picky. It's all right.
Yeah, let me see here. So again. All right, I'm on speakerphone. I can read.
Alien. I gotta go.
Oh.
I gotta go feed the chickens in a little bit, so I gotta.
One before you go, Alice, tell me what kind of feed did you said I should use?
Organic. Do not touch any of the big labels, like Purina or anything like that, because there's something wrong with it.
Okay.
And I think it has to do with them buying all, like, they started opening up some more chicken farms.
Okay.
And it seems they opened up the chicken farm, the feed got messed up. So I think Purina and them did it on purpose. So buy locally and stay away from the big names.
Okay.
I use no probiotics or anything. It's completely organic.
Okay. Thank you so much, Alice, for participating.
No problem, man. It's been interesting listening to two advices.
Yes. All right.
I'll try to do it another time. You have a good day.
All right.
You and what was his name?
Norm. His name's Norm.
Norm. Have a good day, Norm.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Bye.
Okay. Bye, Alice. All right, Norm. You can continue what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, so after I did some studying and became aware that we're in a simulation, and in the summer of 2019, I was, a student therapist, and I was also becoming a craniosacral therapist, which is really interesting. Craniosacral therapy is a really high-level form of energy work, but you have to either be a doctor, a physical therapist, a licensed massage therapist, to eventually become a craniosacral therapist. And I'm on craniosacral therapist level 2, and that has to do with working with the cerebral spinal fluid in the system, in our spine. And you use like 5 grams of pressure or less. So it has to do with a series of holds, and it really comes down to the therapist is not a healer. That's the big misconception with Reiki.
Facts.
That's why I have absolutely no interest in Reiki. I think Reiki's terrible.
Facts.
I'm sorry?
No, I agree. I agree. I have a question for you.
Oh, yeah, sure.
What do you think of of pharmaceutical things like ADHD and stuff? Do you think that stuff is fictitious or fabricated? What do you think?
I think it's totally made up.
I agree.
Yeah, totally made up. Fibromyalgia is totally made up. Yeah, absolutely, without a doubt. Fibromyalgia is. Yeah, I mean, Upledger, he was the one that created craniosacral therapy, and he talked about how there was certain people that don't even bother trying to work with, that have what is it? What's the disease? Where your body shakes, with the nervous system. I can't think of what it's called right now. But once I started getting into quantum physics and quantum mechanics, I discovered Louise Hay's information. And Louise Hay, she was just probably one of the smartest people that ever lived. She wrote a book back in 1984. Yeah, 1984, right? So she wrote this book back in 1984 when she was in her 40s. It's called You Can Heal Your Life. And in her book, you can get for $12, or even most of the information's on free online. She describes that all of our illnesses relates to the thoughts that we think, that we refuse to stop thinking. And she describes everything, almost every possible illness she describes is a thought that people think, and they keep thinking these thoughts until eventually those thoughts land in their bodies, like they're eating their thoughts.
Okay.
And then it manifests into an illness. And she describes in her book, You Can Heal Your Life, she puts all the positive affirmations that are based off of self-love to use to combat any illness. And so, for instance, she describes she just describes cancer as being resentment. And when a person has too much resentment, they eventually develop cancer. But then she goes into specifics, like a woman who has breast cancer, a woman's breast represents mothering. So if a woman, she has, she's a mother and she has children and she does a very good job of mothering, but then all of a sudden the kids get old and they go to college or they go away, and then she doesn't feel like she's losing her ability to mother. She doesn't feel like a mother any longer. So then she gets breast cancer because she has all this resentment about, not feeling like a mother anymore. And then when she gets breast cancer, guess what happens with the children?
Mm-hmm.
They all come back to visit her.
Uh-huh. All right.
So she creates this illness because that's the way to control her loss of feeling no longer like a mother. So I really believe that people get sick to manipulate other people's energy.
Right.
So it has to do with yeah.
Okay, so
but it can always be corrected with positive affirmations. Yeah.
All right. And also, okay, so in the chat, they're saying, and I'll say that basically, they're saying from a medical standpoint, they don't, the chat doesn't really agree, and I know a lot of people don't really, so there's some people that do.
Oh, yeah, no, I totally understand that. Yeah, I mean, people...
Now, do you have any,
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would just explain to them that if they read her book and they looked at her information, that they would have their own success with it. I mean, I had a condition called, I had the rarest form of a allergic reaction on planet Earth. It's called cold urticaria, where I was allergic to the cold. And I got that when I was a kid. And I knew after reading Louise Hay's information, even though she didn't specifically talk about cold urticaria, that there was a way to cure it. And I think I've done that within the last 6 months or maybe 8 months. I've cured my cold urticaria, and I just had to realize that it had to do with anger. That when I was a kid, I used to watch my dad. If he ever got scared at something, he would just get so angry, he would just get rid of fear through anger. And even though that worked sort of okay for him, me looking at it from an observer's perspective, I did the same thing, but as an observer, I didn't have the same element in it as he did. So by me getting angry when I got scared, I was manipulating the system. And as a result of that, it developed into the cold urticaria. And I just had to realize that, how to figure out a way to let go of some of the anger.
All right. Now,
if I got scared.
I will
and
say,
by doing that, I was able to cure my cold urticaria.
Right. I will say, some of my thoughts. Now, I don't know, in my opinion, I don't know if that's how it works, but I do, I believe you have a right to say what you have to say. I do think it has to do with people's auras. People could have, people can have different energies, and sometimes if people get stressed out or have, and whatnot, and people could have genetic predispositions for things, and genes could just go into effect. Maybe people got stressed out with something, and it caused a genetic predisposition to, cause them to get sick. And I don't know if it's the way you're saying, but I do think maybe with people, do you think people being stressed out and whatnot can lead to health issues?
Yeah, absolutely. But here's the deal, though. Nobody can make anybody do anything. Nobody has control over anybody but that person. So if they believe that, all these things are happening and I'm getting stressed out because all these other people, then that thought that's the thought that they won't stop thinking. So they keep internalizing that thought over and over again, like, if it wasn't for this, if it wasn't for that, and then they have all these thoughts about the fear of the future. They basically eat those thoughts. Those thoughts land in their body and then become the illness. But if they were to stop thinking those thoughts, even for 5 minutes a day to start with, and then maybe they stop thinking it for 15 minutes a day, and then they stop thinking it for 2 hours a day, and then the next thing you know, they're only thinking about it for 30 minutes, thinking about it all day long.
Right.
Then they use a positive affirmation, and they can cure the disease or illness that they have. But most people don't believe in that, and they give all their power away to someone or something, and they just say, well, I was predisposed to it, when they really weren't predisposed to it. It was just the thought that they refused to stop thinking.
Right.
So that's what's so powerful about her information.
Right. Now, I want to say something real quick. One of the people in the chat, Anthony McQuaid, he was saying he has cancer and he disagrees with what you're saying, that he didn't cause himself to get sick. Now, what are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, everybody in that position would absolutely say that. I mean, my father had cancer, and he prostate cancer. My brother got cancer. He got Hodgkin's lymphoma. I've been healthy ever since my mentor asked me a series of 4 questions back 25 years ago. He said, why did you come to Mother Earth? Why did you choose your time? Why did you choose your parents? And what are you here to do? And it sounded absurd to me, some of the questions.
Right.
But
now, with this,
I just couldn't stop thinking about his questions.
Right, I understand, and as I said, I don't really, I knew what you're saying, and I appreciate your thoughts. I don't really agree with it completely. I don't really agree with it. I would say at all about the.
Oh yeah, no, I know most people aren't. I know.
In my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I completely understand. I mean, what I'm saying sounds absurd because of how absurd it sounded to me when he told me this.
What
And then after he died, yeah. Well, he died. He died back in he died in 2013, and he never met his father. He grew up. He hardly even knew his mother. He grew up in an orphanage. So when he asked me that question 3, why did you choose your parents? It sounded absolutely absurd. But I was like, I had to really think about this. I said, if he's never met his father and he chose that, and he hardly knew his mother, he actually grew up in an orphanage. How could he possibly come to this conclusion? So I spent 6 months thinking about this question every day. And my answer to him initially was, why would I have chosen crazy parents? My parents are, they're absurd at times. And so to me, that was the most absurd question I had ever heard in my entire life. I mean, the people in the chat that are questioning or disagreeing with me, that's the same exact way that that was my feelings. Totally. I totally, absolutely thought what he was saying was insane. It sounded like the most insane question I'd ever heard in my entire life, and I completely, utterly disagreed with what he was saying. But I couldn't stop thinking about those questions until I actually was able to answer them. And I was able to answer his 4 questions after he died. He actually added a 5th right before he died. But, I mean, here's my answer to question number 3. Are our parents' greatest weakness, what they are absolutely atrocious at with their energy, what they could be no worse at in their life lessons, is what we chose to be a master of, because nobody on planet Earth could show us any better than someone who fails miserably at all of this. So once you understand that you don't choose your parents for what they can do well, you choose them for what they're absolutely terrible at, what they absolutely fail miserably at, you have an opportunity to become a master of their failures. And
Right. So you're saying what we
once you do that, then you can level up.
So you're saying like
Yeah, you can level up. You can go to the next level.
So in your opinion, you believe like people, like I don't, as I said, I don't know about all this, but like so you're saying like people, you know, your parents were gonna have these errors and you would like correct the errors and be like rise above it. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, if you think that here's how it goes. There's one of 2 ways that it winds up. A person either will say like I had perfect parents and they did nothing wrong and they were absolutely perfect, but then they don't see the errors that their parents made or what their failures were at, so then they never learn anything. And if you just say, well, then the opposite, it would be they say, well, you know, there's no possible way I chose my parents. My parents were terrible. Well, then they don't learn anything either, and then what happens is they become just like their parents.
Right.
So then they don't level up either. So the only way that you actually level up is when you realize that you chose your parents. And so what I'm really trying to say is like my mentor, he chose to not have a father. I mean, that's really where it really comes down to. That's how deep and like heavy this question was, is that he knew that he chose for a man to be his father who he never met. He actually he changed his last name to his mother's maiden name to honor his mother, is what he told me. Because he said, why should I have the last name of a man who I've never met, who abandoned me?
Mm-hmm. Right. I understand what you're saying.
So, I mean, he was a humanitarian. I mean, when people, I mean, I know exactly what they're thinking in the chat. I mean, they're thinking the same thing I thought when he asked me this, or everybody else that he asked these questions to. They thought they were being attacked. They thought there's no possible way that any of this could be true. And so, like, why is this man attacking me with these questions? But he wasn't attacking them. He was a humanitarian, giving them their power back, showing them that they had ultimate control, that they do have ultimate control of everything. So
right
I guess
now,
the reason why I'm explaining this is because, yeah.
Yeah, as I said, the chat, and yeah, as I said, I believe you have, the freedom to say.
Oh, I can handle it. I mean, I know that
what
everybody
you want, but yeah, I don't.
Yeah, I mean,
agree with it.
I
Like,
understand
like in my
completely
opinion,
that nobody
in my opinion,
saying.
I don't think that people like choose to be sick. I believe, in my opinion, we live in a fallen world. I know you don't believe in like Christian. I know you were Catholic, yeah, and I was also Catholic, and then I have Protestant and Catholic.
Yeah, I was Roman Catholic. Yeah, I was actually even.
Hold on.
Yeah,
1 second.
yeah. I mean, I was so deep
Hold
into it.
Hold on a second.
Sure.
All right. I was Catholic, and I have Protestant relatives, and I became Protestant. But I know you went away from Christianity completely.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I grew up Roman Catholic. My mom was actually a Roman Catholic Sunday school teacher. I mean, even if I was sick for school, I was never sick for church. Like I went to church like if I had the flu. Like there was no excuse for not going to church. I mean, it was like, and not only that, the high school I went to was all run by Roman Catholic teachers that were also Sunday school teachers. So, I mean, it was like you couldn't even escape it if you wanted to. And, I mean, I read the Old Testament. I read the New Testament. I mean, part of, becoming confirmed, well, I didn't even get confirmed until 12th grade. Like most places you get confirmed in like 9th grade or 10th grade. They held on to us until 12th grade. They wouldn't even allow us to be confirmed. But here's the craziest part. I was confirmed by Bishop Howard Hubbard out of Albany, and he turned out to be like the biggest like pedo like that's ever existed. I mean, there was a priest that came along and explained that the things that he was doing and the things that he was allowing, and he wrote this big long letter to the diocese, and the diocese like blacklisted him, and he ended up committing suicide and left a suicide note. And my best friend, her name was Natalie. Her mother was the assistant vice president at Siena College, which is the largest Roman Catholic college in upstate New York. So I was like there for that, and she explained that this priest had committed suicide and left this, suicide note explaining how terrible Hubbard was, and nothing ever came about of any of that. So it's hard for me to really digest all that without realizing just how utterly corrupt the Roman Catholic Church is.
Right. I do.
I mean, I shook hands with Bishop Howard Hubbard on the day that I was confirmed, and he gave me like the weirdest like lip dick handshake and a weird creepy look as he's shaking my hands on the day I was confirmed. I mean, it's hard for me to. Right. I mean, I was in the thick of it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So I guess the reason why I was explaining my buddy's questions is, yeah.
No, you go on. I'm trying to figure out where I put these Windows X. I think Sonia's trying to come through in one of the things, and I may have closed it down because I didn't see anybody come through StreamYard. So, yeah, I'm just going to have to reset StreamYard.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, but no, I believe in Jesus.
Yeah,
and
no
I believe in Christianity. But I do believe, you went through a lot of things that led you to in your mind, certain conclusions. And as I said, I don't agree with it. I think you're very good at explaining things.
Oh yeah, no, I absolutely.
I don't agree.
I mean, I know if I talk to 1,000 people.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I know if I talk to 1,000 people, there's probably 1,000 people are going to disagree with me, but that's fine. I mean, I don't have any problem with that because I know how disagreeable I was when this information was presented to me.
Right, but what was the thing that?
I mean, I just know
convinced
how
you it was real. Like, what convinced you that these things?
Well, see, that's the whole thing. Like, after my mentor died,
Go on.
Yeah, I mean, before my buddy died, he added one more question. So this was his fifth and final question: are you God?
Okay.
And that was another question that just threw me for a loop, and I had to spend like weeks thinking about it. And I knew how religious he was because he actually became a priest before he died. He decided to become a priest, and
okay.
it was another question. I was like, here's another question that's going to like keep me up at night, And if you believe in God, I think the correct answer is we are God.
Yeah, I think
because you can't escape this universe even if you wanted to.
No, it's like I believe that that's a false teaching, because how can we all be God? It doesn't really make any sense.
I can explain it.
Okay, go.
Yeah. Well, here's the deal. If you don't believe that you're God of your own world, you're God of your own universe, you're basically like in a car, but your hands aren't on the steering wheel. And so every time something happens, you can say, well, I wasn't the one driving. Someone else was driving my vehicle. So every time something happens or negative happens or positive happens, you can say, well, I wasn't in control of it. Someone else was. God was in control of it. But the truth is if you're in your car and that's your car and you're able to drive it anywhere you want, either your hands are on the steering wheel or you might as well be in the back and you're a backseat driver. So either you're controlling your world, your universe, your life, or someone else's, and you have no control over it. But here's the deal. I'm a licensed massage therapist and a craniocyclotherapist. I've been doing this since 2013. Every client that I've ever worked with who has problems that they cannot escape, they always have the same issue, they always have the same mentality. They say the same thing. I'm not in control of this, someone else is. So that's usually the question I would get to with them. I would say, do you feel like you're in control of your life? Do you feel like you're in control of this problem or this illness? And the answer is always no. No. Someone else is in control of it, or God wanted this to happen, or whatever they say. And then that's when I realized that they can never escape this illness or this disease until they realize that they have control over what's going on in their body.
Right. Now in Christianity,
So I guess
hold on,
really
a
the
second,
reason why,
hold on a second. We can get
yeah,
to that in a moment, sir. Just in the basically in Christianity, we believe that with prayer and people saying, I declare I'll get better. People speaking positive about it. You can breathe life into things, and you can pray, and if God wills it, it will have maybe people get better, maybe some people won't, and God has the final say. So like there's life and a death is in the tongue. That's from the Bible. But I think, as I said, and not you specifically, but people that were deceived and that they twist this thing around, and we're not God. We can't be God, because God is there, the Trinity, and then there's us, but we're made in God's image. But we can, with God's help, do things. But we can't, I don't think people can make themselves sick. But I see what you're saying, but it's not. I don't think that's how it works, because people aren't intentionally doing that. I don't think. I don't think that's how it works. Because
if those same people power and they actually started realizing that if they just stopped thinking those thoughts, which is beautiful because all thoughts can be changed and we can easily cancel the thoughts we don't want to think, and they use the positive affirmations, they would get results. And they don't even open up that channel to even try it, because by trying, they're allowing themselves to fail. So it's like in Star Wars with Yoda when he was talking to Luke and he said, try or try not. He goes, do or do not. There is no try. So when people try, they're just leaving an opportunity to fail. So when you say, I'm going to try to do this, or I'm trying to do that, no, it's either do or do not. So you're either going to do it or you're not going to do it. And that's just the way it is. So
right now,
after I was able to answer my buddies'
I will say
questions.
something. Now, are you talking about
Yeah.
different energy fields, like delta energy? I've heard some people talk about they tap into a certain energy, they could be able to achieve what they need to get done. Does that sound similar?
Well, see, that's kind of what I was relating to back in 2012. In the fall of 2012, I felt like I got sick, but it wasn't a normal sickness. I was like a spiritual sickness or like an energy sickness in the in fall of 2012, and I could feel a change coming on. And so I think, like I said, either our government or another government decided to disrupt the timeline. So in the Mayan calendar, they predicted that the end of the world would happen on December 21st of 2012, and I think that they predicted it accurately. I think that they were trying to disrupt the timeline, and they killed everybody. Like, I think somehow they killed everybody on the planet, and then we went into like another timeline. Like, they disrupted the timeline, and now we're in this like weird, I don't even know how to even really fully explain it. Like, there's like all this disinformation. Like, we should be able to have access. We have access to the greatest source of information that the world has ever seen, but people are clinging to disinformation. Not even misinformation, missing information, but actual disinformation.
Mm-hmm. All right.
And then they say, well, I don't have control over this. I can't control that. Like, whatever happens, happens. But that's not the way it is.
Right.
They have total control. Like, the things we think we have the least control over, in actuality, we have the most.
Right. As I said, there are some things in Christianity, and there are some things like certain energy fields, like the chakras I was talking about, and about the Nephilims and different things, and and how there's these energies, and people can tap in these things or breathe life into things. In Christianity, that's true, but we doing it on our own, it would not work, and people would get more sick. Now, I do believe that demons have could influence things, influence people. They can influence the weather, and hypothetically speaking, I guess they can. The devil is responsible because of the forbidden fruit, people getting sick. And I believe that, say someone gets sick, and then, I did this thing and I got better, but it was really some kind of deception where it was like they fund both sides. Okay, they'll fall into this trap and then they'll get better. But really, it was a big deception, because there are people that had near-death experiences and they went to hell and they saw, Hitler, they saw these different people there, and Jesus saved them. And on the screen, I have this girl, and she saw Jesus and she painted his picture, and this other little boy went to heaven and saw Jesus, and it matches the same picture, and it matches the Shroud of Turin. And so there is definitely, that Jesus and the Christianity thing is the one that's correct. But there are some, like, little things, like, that you're saying that are from Christianity, a little bit like, through prayer and stuff, but it's twisted around, in my opinion. And that I don't think people make themselves sick, but I do understand your point, though, sir.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many depictions during that time. There's actually aliens in the framework of the pictures, like with the Maid Mary. Like there's certain pictures and depictions where they show like a spaceship, and there's like a laser beam going down to her, and that's pretty much depicting that she was inseminated by an alien. Well, and Jesus was an alien. I mean, if you look at all these different cultures, there's so many different like Jesus like figures that came about that did like things similar to what Jesus did, but I have no doubt that they were just aliens. But there's just no doubt in my mind after all the research I've done.
Right, I understand your point. And if I were you, I'd feel the same way. But basically, in a sense, yeah. I mean, God is not native to Earth. And he would be technically an alien, but I don't think it's the same aliens you're speaking of. In my opinion, they're fallen angels, and they disguise these things, and they put ideas in people's heads. And now I do feel, in my opinion, that with Christianity and the Catholic Church and the things that you witnessed and saw and went through in your life, that you felt that this stuff was true and it was the only way out. Now, you can elaborate on that if you want.
Well, I mean, getting back to answering my buddy's questions, when I had to answer that question, are you God? My initial answer was absolutely not. There's no way. How could I possibly be God? God has got to be separate from us. But that didn't register correctly with me. I mean, that answer sounded good at first, but it just wasn't an answer that I could honestly stay with. And eventually I thought the correct answer would be, we are God. But then when I started researching, quantum physics and quantum mechanics, I realized that we're obviously in a simulation. I mean, if God, here's my real question.
Okay.
If God created this universe,
okay,
why would he have created a digital universe?
Okay, so how is it a digital universe?
Because if you look at quantum bits and quantum mechanics,
okay,
quantum physics, like we can absolutely prove without a doubt that things only exist when they're being observed. When things are not observed, they don't exist. It's just potentials of energy. Like if we took in a cell, like an atom out of your body right now, and we were studying it, all of a sudden that atom that we're studying in a laboratory could all of a sudden be in Japan. Like it was in your body, we took it out, now we're studying it under a microscope, and then all of a sudden it disappears from the laboratory, and now it's in Japan. And then it's in Japan, and then the next thing you know, it's on Pluto. And then it didn't travel from Japan to Pluto or from your body to Japan. It just was in Japan, and then now all of a sudden it's on Pluto. And then the next thing you know, it's on the other side of the universe. And it didn't travel from that point to the other. It just was in one location, and then it's in another location.
I don't think that's how it works, in my opinion.
When you understand that those things are possible.
Sir. And in my opinion, I don't think that's exactly how it works, and I've not really heard of one thing moving to another. Okay, so tell me about what this study was about.
Well, it's the whole thing with Einstein. When with Einstein, he was trying to disprove quantum mechanics. He was trying to disprove it, and so he came up with his own universal field theory. And so, as brilliant as Einstein was, I mean, he came up with a concept of 4 different principles in 1 year's time. And then he spent the next 25 years of his life trying to disprove quantum mechanics and quantum physics, and he was unable to disprove it. And he talked about this principle of studying atoms. So, if we took, 2 atoms out of your body, and one was on one side of the universe and one was on the other side, if we did something to the one, there would be we could see that there's this exact same, how do you explain it? So we did a science experiment with these two atoms. Exactly the same thing would happen to both of them at exactly the same time, regardless of where they are in the universe. And he thought this was absolutely absurd. He actually made jokes about it. He called it spooky action at a distance.
Okay. Now,
so this was happening during his time.
I'll say. All right. So some people in the chat were asking this very good question. If we are in a simulation, why do we die?
If we're in a simulation, why do we die?
Yes.
That's the question?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Because that's the answer to why did you come to Mother Earth? That's the question number one. Why did you come to Mother Earth? This is a learning planet. This planet is like no other planet in the universe. So people come here to learn. But here's the beautiful thing about that. You can come to this planet and learn everything, or absolutely learn nothing. And that's why it's so beautiful. Because you can I believe that we come here more than once, if we want to, if we need to. And so we show up, and we learn to forget, to hopefully grasp that and move on. And then once you've learned whatever you need to learn on this planet, you can go somewhere else with your energy. So that's kind of like what I was getting to with energy is information and vice versa. So once you start understanding that you can tap into this information, you're actually just tapping into an energy source.
Oh, right.
And so the energy you come here to this planet, you can take with you somewhere else.
No, I mean, in a sense, like, in Christianity, we believe that this place is a test, and that God, wants us to grow and learn, and to overcome things, and, like, things from, like, wolves in sheep's clothing and whatnot. And I think that's true, but then it's twisted around, and, like, what you're saying, there's these theological errors in it. But now, Norm, thanks for your call, and I got to get to some more. But thank you for calling in, buddy.
Sure.
Okay, bye.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just going to... Okay.
Okay, bye. All right. That was the call. And also, as I said, I believe people, he could, come and say what he wants to say. But I don't agree with it. And I think, people can get, and they see the church a certain way, and they, it's these emotions coming, and then they get, into these ideologies, and that's why we always must be aware of the wolves in sheep's clothing. And also, I think because of the fallen world, the fallen corrupted world we have, that people got sick, and because of people get stressed out and worked up, they get sick. But sometimes it doesn't, because obviously people don't want to get sick, but God does bless people with family members and people that pray for them, like Anthony McQuaid. May God bless you and help you be healed in Jesus' name, amen. And as I said, I think in our country we all have a right to freedom of speech, and although I disagree with what he says, and we, most of us do in the chat, I'd say all of us do in the chat, I think it's good to have these discussions with people. And I want Dark Meta to call in if he wants. If he wants to call in. I know that was a very long call, but if he still wants to call in, I think that would be good. And I think I will get to the different alien things. Basically, with the Nephilim, I'll go back to that if he doesn't call in. And let's say minimize this window for a moment. Right, Anthony. I didn't make a reservation either. Right. And also, I dropped the link already. I'll drop the link again if you all want to come in. And if you all want to come through StreamYard, and Anthony McQuaid, I know you do StreamYard. If you want to come through StreamYard, you can and say your thoughts if you want. But yeah. So basically, okay. So the fallen angels came here and they made different religions and different ideas that turned people from Christianity. Because anyone that denies Jesus is the Son of God is an Antichrist. And, you know, and I was Catholic, and, you know, people don't have those other alternatives, and people get convinced of these ideas, they lead people astray. And some of the most brilliant people, you know, can fall to these ideas. And Dark Meta, you know, he said very good thoughts. Very good thoughts, he said, about these things. And it's good we have science and different things. And, you know, SC Wolverines is a nurse. And I see what you're saying, Norm. I see what you're saying. And add it to your buddy's questions. Why do you choose your name? Why do you choose your family? Why do you choose your body? There's a lot of questions. And, you know, I have heard from Christianity that we choose to be here. I've heard that. And I think ironically, I think the Mormons, it sounds similar to Norm, the Mormons want to, they say that. And I think I have to research it, but I think I've heard people did choose to come here. I've heard that before, but not in the way Norm was saying. It's like they twist things around. Like, say Muhammad says, you know, the Bible's uncorrupted. It's the Word of God. Then he goes around and does the opposite of what Jesus said to do. You know, so yeah, remember, there many false prophets would arise. And as you call, I think it's still on the screen. I don't really know what's going on over there, but you know, Jesus, as you could see with this Jesus picture, you know, the Shrouded Torn matches him, and that girl painted him. And he's this guy. I could play it at some point. He went to hell, and he saw, you know, I guess, you know, people that were on ships, people that were doing witchcraft, people that doubted Christianity. People were in hell. They're burning in hell and being tortured by demons. And Jesus saved the man. And all these people have near-death experiences about Christ. And if this was true, we would see what he's talking about, the Matrix and stuff. But, you know, pray for Norm. You know, Christians, pray for him. And you know, that God can help him see his errors. And if we all have errors in other areas, that we all will be corrective of our errors in general. But, you know, I don't agree with, you know, what he was saying. But it's good to have the callers in. Your health. Now, as I said, it's kind of like a straw man argument. You know, beating up the straw man. Like, you know, like, why did you choose this? Why did you choose that? You know, and it beats up the straw man. It kind of goes to nowhere. Like, when someone has, the aura is darker, they don't make any sense. Pretty much. And as I was telling him that, like these, I said that the false prophets that would arise and say these things, but, you know, I wanted to hear his thoughts, and on the next time, the next show, Norm could call in, and if he wants, and talk about some other stuff with about more about God and Christianity. But basically, you know, and Dark Meta, you could call in if you want. And alright, so we got Jesus here, and I guess I'll move on to the other thing about the ghosts. I mean, the Nephilims. Understood, Norm. You know, I understand your point. You're understood. All right, let's see. Right, and we have this opportunity because, you know, I didn't choose to get sick. Now, one time I got myself worked up, because of this. I told Sonya and Rebel about this. When this, I was thinking about some relationship that didn't work, and I got myself kind of sick. And I did get myself sick, but just because I was getting my body stressed and put down, and I did it to myself. But no, I don't think people choose to be sick. We live in a corrupted, fallen world because of the fall of mankind from Adam and Eve. And we were, cursed. That's why the devil curses us. And the devil doesn't want us to go to heaven. And true healing, speaking positive about yourself. Like, I will get better. I declare I'll get better. And then having a positive attitude and taking health, your own, to be healthy. And do what the nurses and doctors say to do. Then you get healthy. Or, maybe you'll be with the Lord. But you see how this, because if people chose to be sick, on a subconscious level, people are not going to be disagreeing with it, my opinion. As I told Norm on the chat, I told him this exact stuff when he was on the phone. I was just kind of telling about. Yeah, Norm, understood, Norm. And one day, hopefully, not before you pass away, you will understand that you were wrong about what you think. And maybe there's some little truths here and there, and then it twists around. But I hope before you meet the Lord, you see these errors. But thanks for saying your thoughts. And right, so the Nephilim were these giants, as I said, with fallen angels. These angels, the offspring of the angels. And Latina showed me a video, and I want to open it up over here. Now, let's see, Norm said something else. Let's see what he had to say. Right. Now, I don't, as I said, I don't, I don't agree with that. I think there are very, good nurses and doctors. Now, you do have bad nurses and bad doctors. At the same time, and they are there, but I know SE Wolverines is a good nurse, and one of our friends from ABL Live, Georgia Peach, is a good nurse. She takes care of her mother, and she's kind of she's doing with sick people, and it's like they're not doing it to get attention. It's just that there is a glitch, there is a flaw, we were cursed, and that's why these things happen. Now, people can maybe, if they aren't healthy or they get like this, they get real stressed. Like our grandpa had a heart attack, and he was very stressed from Katrina and different things, and he had a predisposition. He had a heart attack. I don't know what La Mazurli is. Oh, okay, Sonya. Okay, Sonya. I'm getting to you in a moment. Okay. I'm getting there. There's more people here. There's people here. All right, Anthony McQuaid.
I don't know what La Mazurli is.
All right, Sonya.
Oh, okay, Sonya. Okay, Sonya. I'm getting to you in a moment.
All right.
Okay. I'm getting there. There's more people here. There's people here. Right there. All right, Anthony McQuaid. I don't know what La Mazurli is. All right, Sonya. Oh.
Okay,
Sonya.
Hello,
Sonya. I'm getting
Anthony
to you in a
McQuaid
moment.
and Sonya.
Okay. I'm getting there. There's more people here. There's
Hello?
people here. Right there.
I'm trying to,
All right, Anthony McQuaid. I don't know what La Mazurli
okay, I'm hearing
is.
stuff in the background,
Sonya.
Anthony McQuaid and Sonya.
Okay, Sonya.
If y'all want to say something.
Sonya, is that you? Okay.
Sonya.
There's more people here. There's people here. Right there.
Trying to,
Right, Anthony McQuaid. I don't know what La
hey, Anthony McQuaid.
Hearing stuff in the background.
Anthony McQuaid.
Sonya. Sonya, is that you?
Okay, I don't know if it's where this is coming from. There's an echo.
I don't know what Anthony McQuaid. Hearing stuff in the background. Anthony McQuaid.
Yeah, I'm definitely hearing an echo.
Yeah, I don't know if it's coming from my end. It might be. I don't really know how it would be coming from my end. But let's see.
There's an echo.
I have no idea where this is coming from. Let's see. Now I'm gonna temporarily move you, Anthony, and join back in. I'll see if it fixes. Okay.
I don't know if it's coming from my end. I don't know how it would be coming from my end.
Okay. It was Anthony McQuaid's stream, I think. So all right. All right, Anthony McQuaid. You hear me? You hear me, Anthony? Okay, I'm gonna tell this fella something. No, my little bird right here. Dark Meta. Okay, Anthony McQuaid is unresponsive. He doesn't hear me. Okay, so Anthony McQuaid is here, but he's not saying anything. Now, am I visible? Can people hear me? Does chat hear me? Hello. Let's see. Did I do something here? Let's see. All right. It looks like that I'm here. Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, so let's see what OBS looks like. It's been a while. Oh, okay. So it's just YouTube that I have on there. Oh, I'm gonna try to get this guy's attention. Let's see. Okay, Anthony McQuaid hears me. All right. Well, I'm glad to have you on, Anthony. Is there anything you'd like to say?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Oh, I'm not sure. I've been watching everything. I've been enjoying the stream, but I really have to strongly disagree with what Norm said, because if we were in a simulation, we would not die.
Exactly.
It's like a flight simulator. It's
I
like
agree.
a flight simulator, and I'm always on my flight simulator. That is a simulator.
Right.
I'm not sure. He's been convinced of something else, science, and science tries to disprove religions
Right.
all the time.
Exactly.
And it's not that what he was talking about was not interesting, but even though I do believe in Jesus, we were talking about the pyramids.
Right.
And I believe because the pyramids and everything there aligned with the stars, especially Orion's belt,
Okay.
that if this was the case, beings from Orion's belt came here to do these things. And they were the ones who hung around with the long skulls.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And yes, and they were the ones that put all those bricks and those tonnage of the granite that was brought in boats. I mean, they actually brought them to the pyramid sites and they were put in place by aliens.
Right.
Those blueprints of the Great Pyramids, especially underneath the Sphinx, which Egypt will not let us look
Right.
into, because under the Sphinx is the Hall of Ages, which has the beginning of life, how it started in that hall. They will not, and it's under the paws of the Sphinx, presumably the left paw. Did a dig a long time ago, and Egypt said, no, you can't do that. Get out.
Right.
And another thing, the Sphinx is on a pedestal.
Mhm.
The pedestal bricks or blocks that weigh a few hundred, maybe 1,000 pounds each, are perfectly rounded on some edges. They are machined. They did not have that technology back then. Now, the pedestal blocks have been moved away from the Sphinx, out from under it. If you watch, I just watched something on them the other day about the pedestal that the Sphinx is on. Now, if you see pictures of the Sphinx, every picture and carving has it sitting on a pedestal.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I totally know what you mean.
So that's my take on the pyramids. Now, people say, "Oh, you can't say that if you believe in Christ." Well, who's to say that there's not another universe like ours, or not universe, solar system like ours, thousands and million light years away at the other side of the space and time. I would like to hear Norm's take on that. But I'll tell you, what do you mean, S.E. Wolverines? There is a chamber in the Sphinx head. Yes,
Oh.
I believe that too.
Yeah.
I believe that too. And the other pyramids, it's just too. The other pyramids, I should say, line up with everything else on this earth, including Stonehenge.
Facts.
And you're showing a picture of the Mayan pyramids. They also line up with the Great Pyramids of Egypt. If you took a graph and put it on the globe, okay, let's pretend it's a flat Earth. You've seen huge maps that have the entire Earth.
Mm-hmm.
If you put a graph on the Earth, I've seen this done before. A scientific graph, I forgot how to do it, but it will line up with every single pyramid on this planet with straight lines and, right angles. So I don't think any human beings built any pyramids on this planet. Sorry.
Makes sense. Yeah, and I was just like, I have all these like windows open. So on my computer, I have like this thing where I I'm looking at it through a different lens where I have like these boxes all organized so I could see what's going on. But yeah, man,
Right.
Anthony, I totally agree what you're saying because my buddy, he's my friend that I talked about the aliens with, which indirectly started this entire YouTube channel and brought us all here. When I was back in
Right.
school, he is doing college and stuff. I haven't heard from him in like a 2 years or so, but he'll come at some point. But yeah, him and I were talking about how the pyramids couldn't. It would be hard for. I know a dark meta. He was explaining how we could have done it, and maybe there's some truth to that. But I do think we had extra help. And this pyramid that I have on the screen, I think we're seeing right now, is that I think chat's seeing it. I don't know if the image got a little bit distorted.
I can see it. Yeah, it's on my computer, but not on my phone.
Okay, so
yeah, that looks like a Mayan pyramid.
Yeah, the Mayan pyramid. I was just learning the other day, literally just like last night when I went to see the little cats. We could all hear Norm and all of us can agree that cats are real cute, and so I was
Love cats.
Yes, cats bring the world peace. So I remember there is a chambers under the pyramids, layers and layers of them, because these giants wanted to build these pyramids because this god wiped out all of the giants through a flood. That's the same God from the Bible all the way in Israel and the Middle East, and it synchronizes with the two different things. And I was showing the painting of Jesus, the actual picture of him, and you all could see Christ, and it's easier for you all to understand this because you all are believers. But yes, so I definitely believe there's synchronicity between the two different alien species. Now, do you think that the aliens could be fallen angels? Do you think that's possible?
That's very possible. Lucifer was a fallen. He was the first fallen angel, and became the devil.
Right.
Lucifer was kicked out because he challenged God, and rumor has it he was the most beautiful angel ever.
Yeah. And I remember when the dude went to hell, and I could play it at some point and find the video. I'll be glad to play it. There was this he went to hell, and this 8 foot tall slim dude with a black cloak, and he was purple and pink, and he was very beautiful but very hideous. And he said, "What kind of God would send people to a place like this?" He was trying to get him to curse God. And then he was about to be put in a cube. It was so hell. It's like this. It's like a road, and there's these cubes on all different sides, and there are people from from all time periods, serial killers, murderers, dictators. Everybody's in there, and he saw that, and yeah, it was hideous and creepy and evil, but it was beautiful at the same time, and that may have been Lucifer, because I found out later
Right.
the thing with the horns is actually Moloch. It's this other thing, so that could have been Lucifer. So you're quite. I totally agree on that. That's what I was taught too. Now, now, do you think what my friend and I thought when we were young, that the aliens are could be a fallen race of people that God made, and they're working with the evil ones? Could that be also another possibility, you think?
Oh, that is a great question. That would have to mean that God tried before and wasn't happy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I would think that that would be in the Bible, but I would say that, God made the school boards because they're all idiots. But anyway,
Right.
he made a mistake doing that, so he tried again. And anyway, that's a joke that someone told me, and I screwed it up. But yeah, and Dark Matter said cats are pure evil.
Well,
Oh man,
I mean, I will say,
they are when they start knocking stuff off your table.
I will say that basically, when I'm with my cat, his name's Normal, and I almost call him Norm sometimes, because Norm, I chat with him in the other chats and stuff, and even if I don't agree with him, I like to hear his thoughts about different things.
Just a moment. Norm said, "I am surprised that people who understand that aliens created the pyramids refuse to believe that aliens also created Jesus."
Yeah, you see, he's been
Sorry,
deceived by
that is not true, Norm.
ideologies.
I'm sorry.
Right.
I'm 62 years old. I've studied a lot in my life, and quantum leap cannot disprove Jesus.
Exactly right.
Okay?
No, the thing is, it's like,
God
yeah, go on.
made Jesus. God made Jesus. That's it. God was hanging around and said, "You know what? I'm going to snap my fingers." And in a second, which took millions of years, made Earth.
Amen.
Millions of years is 1 second to God. You have to concentrate or comprehend that first,
Right, and
because
yes,
we
go on.
we are just a speck of dust flying around this universe that at any moment can get hit by an asteroid the size of the moon, and goodbye everybody. Now, and those are from the asteroid belt. You'll have something fly through the asteroid belt, knock some of these huge things, and once they get going, at light speed.
Hmm.
Um, I just got ahead of myself. Holy crap! But no, I'm not sure that aliens created Jesus, but maybe, just maybe, God created more aliens. We don't know that because the book of the Bible only tells us one story of God.
Mm-hmm.
If there are others that are not written about, we'll never know.
Right.
But in my life, I've always heard that science or scientists, especially scientists that are in the pocket of the government, are only there to deceive. Like that guy Tyson or whatever his name is.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of his name. He's a black guy, Tyson, DeGrace or something. I forget. Um, he's totally in the pocket of the government, and he believes in mandatory jabs.
Right.
You know. So oh yeah, Neil deGrasse Tyson. Thank you, Sonia. He's a nut job. He's a total nut job. My older brother has a higher IQ than that man. So
Right.
seriously, my older brother has a very high IQ.
Right.
Um, and he's an atheist.
Right.
Now, he's not an atheist. He's like Norm Macdonald, not Norm Macdonald. The other Norm, I forget his name. A true atheist will not condemn or condone your belief in anything. But atheists that are like on the left say there's absolutely no reason you should believe in God.
Mm-hmm.
And those people are the ones that are. Did you ever see the movie They Live?
No, but I should. I should see it, but I haven't seen it.
I suggest you watch that
So what's it called again?
because that They Live.
Okay.
It stars ex late wrestler Rowdy Piper.
All right. Okay.
And I'm gonna suggest that for Rebels movie night so we can all see it. That is a good movie. I've seen it many times. I'll never get sick of it. It's about a man that's just minding his own business and comes across these sunglasses, and that's all I'm saying.
Right, and I see what you're saying, and I think you made very good points. Now, Jesus was uncreated. He is, like in the Trinity. He is God in the Trinity, three persons in one. It's like a marriage. There's a husband and wife for pronounced one flesh.
Yes,
And
he is God in the flesh.
And Jesus came to Earth, and he wasn't created. He wasn't destroyed because something I did forget to mention to Norm when he called in is that God exists outside of our realm. In our finite world, where we can touch things and see things. We exist in a time, a place, and a space. God does not exist in a time and a place. He exists outside of this space, so he does not have the same logic that we have. The same.
I would believe.
Yeah, go on.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go on, sir.
I would believe that God is in those other dimensions. Mm-hmm. It's like Jesus and God are all around us. They are everywhere. No matter where you went in this universe, there they are. Mm-hmm. They're keeping an eye on the universe. Who's to say that God will not throw an asteroid at us? And it's like, holy crap. And, mm-hmm. What the hell? I mean, we couldn't stop it even if we want.
Right. And also, because God wants to spare people like Norm and give them as much time as they can to see the truth. And, if, as I said, I don't know, and he'll, call in another show. And he'd elaborate what he had to say, what he has to say. But so basically, God wants to save as many people as possible, and people have been deceived by demons and fallen angels, aliens, all these things, and they're deceived. Maybe people get they have emotions about things. Like some people had bad experiences with the church and Christianity, and it led them to these different beliefs. What are your thoughts on that?
I agree with you 100%. It's like they're called the valleys of weeping. Every now and then we fall into this valley of weeping that we think, oh man, my life is over. I'm never going to get out of this. Well, that's where the poem Footsteps come in. When there's only one set of footprints, that means he's carrying you through that valley, and you will be stronger when you come to the other side.
Amen. Amen. You know, because I believe God allows us to go through things and to make us stronger and bring people together. You know, I had a teacher. It wasn't a teacher of mine, but it was in the other side of the school. She died of terrible cancer, and you know, her. I know that her. I don't definitely know she didn't want to die of cancer.
I don't. I know that I have two types. I have Hodgkin's lymphoma and
Okay.
melanoma.
Right.
Um, the supplements that I'm on, and I think it was Latina said something about herbs. I am taking herbs, everything from turkey tail mushroom powder, which they used in Japan to fight cancer, and they had a very high rate of success. I take three types of mushroom powder, not the crazy mushrooms, people,
Right.
but um, I take those. I take vitamin. I take vitamin E, the best vitamin E that is on the market. Vitamin D3, B vitamins, all those. I take no flush niacin. I take like 6,000 milligrams a day. See, if you overdo vitamins a little bit,
Hmm.
your body will thank you. Now, I'm also starting this other thing, which will boost testosterone and cut down on cortisone,
That's great.
which cortisone kills testosterone.
Yeah, cortisol. Yeah.
So so I'm going to be starting that with, and in there are other mushrooms and other ingredients that are totally great for you. And I attest all the supplements that I've been taking to beating COVID 3 times.
Oh wow, that's great.
Yep. And I caught COVID from two of my best friends who were vaccinated.
Hmm.
And I told them after I caught it, I think I told them a couple months ago, don't get another vaccination. You're playing with your life.
Right. I never got a vaccination, and you know, my grandparents. They mean well, but you know, they were the news, and they're older. You know, the news. They just. I don't know. They're different than you. They kind of go with what the news kind of says, and I decided not to get it. But I'm glad you are against it and the vaccine.
I just want to, I just, oh, uh, I have never taken a vax. I will never take a vax because it is a failed experimental treatment.
Hmm.
That's all it is. It's a treatment. It's not even a treatment. But uh, Norm just said the truth is that we are in a simulation. Now, that is hard to believe because what about back in the day before Jesus lived? Was that a simulation as well? I don't think so.
Right.
Before the earth was formed, was that a simulation? Was the Big Bang Theory a simulation? What was
Right.
here before the Big Bang Theory?
Right.
Nothing. Just a speck of dust that he blew up. And
Right.
oh my goodness, SE Wolverine mushroom powder for the testosterone increase. No, there is one mushroom in that, in the things that I'm going to be taking, that will help with everything else in this to boost testosterone and cut down on cortisone. Because I'll tell you, cortisone kills testosterone, and we even have this hormone that women have. It's like a minuscule percentage of it.
Estrogen. Estrogen.
Oh, thank you. Damn, why couldn't I think of that? I think of everything else, but I can't think of that.
Right. Go on.
Um, but yeah,
Yeah. So, basically, you know, I remember because I look at things. This channel, you know, I watch. I think it's called. He talks about men's health and stuff, all kinds of things about men. Called Dr. Sam Robbins. I learned a lot from him about this. So, basically, you need balance of estrogen and testosterone, like a good balance of it. But cortisol, you know, it causes the testosterone to go down and the hormones to get unbalanced, and that's what it
yeah.
causes. Now, in my garden, I'm growing turnips. That's another thing you could, you know, try is turnips. That's a good thing to
Oh
have.
yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that. Yeah.
And also, this night is obviously an exception, but getting as much sleep is also good. Is good for health.
Yeah, well, that's Sonia's fault. Every time she's around, I don't get any sleep.
Yeah, darn Sonya.
So
Yeah.
she, sorry, Sonia. Listen, look at that. No.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and also as I said, I am praying for you, and that you get better
I
enough with
appreciate that.
other people praying for you, and also like I talk about like Georgia Peach, she's been taking care of her mom, and she, has some sicknesses herself, and she's as I said, her mom didn't choose to get sick. It's not what she wanted, and Norma's good intentions, but he just I don't quite understand. And he said it took him a long time to come to these conclusions. We're all wrong. We'll see. But as far as I know, his ideas are not correct.
Well, we're all wrong, period, because we are all going to die.
Right.
And if we're in a simulation, I don't want to die.
Exactly.
If I'm in a simulation, I'm going to find that button that says "Don't die." But anyway,
Yes.
um, no, I believe in astral projection when you sleep. In fact, when I was younger, I was about 9 years old, and we were going to a place called Fort Ticonderoga. I don't know if you ever heard of it, but look it up. I told my father what the place looked like before we even got there.
Right.
I told him there's cannons on above on the wall, but the cannons are now on the ground, and the cannonballs are in welded pyramid stacks,
Right.
another pyramids. But yeah, I told him what it looked like, and I described Fort Ticonderoga to him. When we were there are walled up dungeons. They're all bricked up now.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at one of the walls and I said, "There's dead bodies in there," you know.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, stuff like that, astral projection. I feel like I do that every time I sleep
Right.
instead of dreaming.
Right.
Like I go places, I just fly over to. I can go anywhere I want, but see, that's only the consciousness. Now, when you die, where does your consciousness go? Where does that energy
Mm-hmm.
go?
Right. And Norm is saying how when your energy is you go somewhere interesting, probably somewhere in the universe. And I really butchered what he said, but when you have a giant when I'm basically like running a cruise ship right now, so
Well, if I may interrupt,
yes.
but your energy will go somewhere perhaps more interesting in the universe when you die. That is probably the only thing I believe in, because you can't kill your consciousness. My
Right.
consciousness, when my father and my mother created me through the help of Jesus,
Amen.
um, well, he wasn't there. I mean, but he was around. But when I was created, it's like I feel like I was born with the energy that I can fly.
Mm-hmm.
When I was a kid, I always tried jumping off stuff and hitting the ground, and it was foolish. Like the garage roof
Mm-hmm.
with cardboard wings. Did you ever do that?
Yeah, I think I remember it was like on my sofa at the other house down the street, and I jumped and I fell in the roof.
It doesn't really work, man.
No.
Now, uh, for me, when I sleep, it feels like when I do find myself in my dreams somewhere else. People say you don't dream in color. Bullshit.
That's not true.
Okay, I dream in color. When I see cars, each one's different. They're not gray. One's red, one's blue. People say you cannot see colors in your sleep in a dream.
Yeah, that's
I don't know
nonsense.
whoever. I don't know who said that. People probably didn't buy a color dream TV. They stuck with black and white. You know, so I don't know.
Right. So to explain it,
But
God exists outside of our time, space, and place. So he's not
oh yeah,
limited.
hold on 1 second. Norm said Fort Ticonderoga is in upstate New York, and I'd never been there. Never been. I was 9 years old, and I told my father what it looked like and all this other stuff, and he was,
See, that's
he said,
synchronicity.
okay, what? He goes, what book did you read? I didn't read a book. I didn't even know what Fort Ticonderoga was. Didn't even know the name, But I said to him, when my father mentioned it, I said, I know what that is. And he
Right.
freaked out when I told him. Even my older brother freaked out. They couldn't believe it.
Right. And you see, this is like a synchronicity right here, because synchronicity is when things fall into place, and like, Norm living in that area, and you saying that, that's a synchronicity, like a sign of something in that God, that, we're doing the Lord's work and of what we're doing, because that's what the synchronicities mean. And that we're all here discussing these things. I think it's very important that we're doing this.
Norm, you should go to Fort Ticonderoga if it's that close. It's an amazing place, and bring some psychics there. I guarantee you, that there are some mediums that can feel energy, once in a while. I do believe that because, energy of the spirits is kind of strong. You know,
Oh
I'm
yeah.
not I'm not talking I'm not talking poltergeists, but uh,
Oh yeah.
you know. So
Yes, sir.
where the heck is Sonia? I see her picture here.
Okay, so Sonya is muted and she's probably like listening to the stream. Maybe she could come in and I would like to hear her thoughts. She wants to come through.
Yeah, I've been listening to you guys, but I don't want to interrupt.
All right.
Can
So
you hear
That's
me?
hello, Sonya.
okay. Let her.
Hello, Sonya. Nice to meet you.
Hi, nice to see you again, Anthony. How are
You
you?
too.
I'm not using my microphone, so I don't know if you can hear me good on this tablet.
Oh, you're good.
You could
All
hear.
right.
You could elaborate if you have any thoughts you want to say.
Well, it's 5 in the morning, and I'm a little delirious by now, but I don't know where to begin.
It's
Um,
5:30 here.
let's see. Um, what Norm was saying about the aliens, he said that they created everything, including Jesus, I think is what he said.
Yes.
Yes.
And then about the choosing. So I'm not understanding how that works with the choosing. Our parents, our names, our homes, our health, everything.
Hmm.
Um,
Norm.
Norm, yeah.
No, he just said something really funny.
What do you say? Because I can't see the chat now.
All right. He said, I have been to Fort Ticonderoga a bunch of times. I used to go there and smoke pot. LOL.
Okay.
Oh my God, that's great.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Oh
interesting
God.
talking about ports. I liked seeing the Civil War battlegrounds and different things. It's very interesting. And
Did you see the fort where uh, Francis Scott Keys wrote the national anthem?
you
That's
know,
still around.
I've not been there, but I need to go up there. So tell me, what is that fort called?
That one slips my mind, and it's oh,
No, that's all right. I got it.
that's still. You got it?
Yeah, I'm about to get it. Well, actually, but it's all good. It's all good. It's just
Hey, rebel!
internet's coming. Oh, is he up in here? Yeah, yeah. Rebels up in here. I think it's called Fort McHenry.
I think you're right. I think you're right.
All right. Now I'll say, like, when I was getting this thing up, it took me like 30 minutes because the stupid thing was like that my computer was disagreeing with the thing and it was being silly, and then finally I did the other one and it came up like a charm. I'm glad I got here.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
I was gonna let Sonia continue.
oh, okay. Well, I'm done with my rant. Go ahead, Sonia.
I ranted.
Well, I'm not really knowledgeable on the things you people are talking about, to be honest with you. I
Well,
mean,
make
aliens, the Egyptians, and
make stuff up.
No, okay.
Jesus,
So
maybe.
okay. So
Um,
Just kidding.
what are
Just
your
kidding.
what are your thoughts about how there's why do you think people of sometimes get these ideas about these things? You understand what I mean, or not?
like where Norm gets his ideas, maybe.
Him or other groups that deviate. Do you think that they?
Deviate from what? Christianity, you
Yeah.
mean?
Why do you think people deviate from Christianity?
Well, you were saying before about people who were raised in the church that
Mhm.
they have some kind of I don't know, they stray, right? So they come back and they have these different ideas and maybe they're a little jaded, I guess, or resentful about their upbringing. Maybe they
Exactly.
had strict parents and they were sheltered and no, because I get this all the time on the internet too. When I post things and I get some trolls ever so often, and the first thing they come up with is their whole childhood about, their parents took them to church and
Hmm.
they didn't really want to go and they were strict and they were homophobic and they talk about all these things that have to do with their childhood, but that has nothing to do with what I'm talking about. But they always bring it up. So the sense that I'm getting is that they're bitter about it,
Hmm.
like rebellious about it.
Yes, Sonia, that's exactly what I think. And fooled into these things, and hell's not a place where I would want to go personally. I think we could all agree on that.
Well,
Who
yeah.
said SC Wolverine said Fort Ticonderoga is racist? Sorry,
Well,
sorry, Sonya.
people about the lake of fire.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And also, Sonia, what are your thoughts about how? Remember when I was on Rebel Stream and I was talking about the transgenders and how they? I think you brought it up the question about the Baphomet thing. So you also agree that the demonic forces are influencing people to do that.
Yeah, I think it's diabolical for sure. I mean, with the they them, I
Mm.
mean, Legion, right?
Right.
Um, saying that you're more than one person or you're either or. It's confusion for sure. I think it's all part of the depopulation agenda. They're going to get you one way or the other. If it's not that thing we can't talk about here, it's going to be hormone treatments, or you're sterile for life, or you're missing body parts. You can't procreate. So um, I think that's the purpose behind that.
Right.
And also for the pedos,
Right.
because they can take advantage of children that are confused.
Right. And they attack from different forms. And I was saying earlier before when the stream was starting, and I was talking to myself for like 30 minutes, and it was just being difficult.
Mm.
So they create
Yeah,
different
I
factions
get
of
that.
Christianity. They create different, the gods of Egypt and this and that, and they're going to take people that are influential and intellectual, like Norm, or even me, if I was, thankfully I didn't get deceived, but people, and they want to use those people to get other people to do it. Because if someone is just some goofy character from a cartoon, they're not going to care.
Mm.
They want to use influential people
Mm.
to do their bidding, and
Well, nothing against Norm, and I can't see the
I'm
chat, so
not
I don't know
against
what he's
Norm.
saying.
I'm not against Norm at all.
Huh?
I'm not against Norm, and
Yeah.
I'm saying he's
No,
very
nothing
good.
against Norm, but you said like they're using people, right? So,
Right.
and they would want to use people that people would take seriously
Mm-hmm.
because
Right.
he sounds, perfectly.
He's very intellectual and very
Yes,
good at talking,
exactly.
and he's also
Mhm.
like the information he has, if it's right or wrong. He's very good explaining it.
Yeah.
Very, that's why even if I disagree with him, like to talk to
Well, he's
him and
knowledgeable in history and a lot of other things too.
yeah.
But my point is the man that he says asked him a question, and I think I asked him this before, but I'm not sure. The man that told him 20 years ago, why did you choose, etc.
Hmm.
He's just the man, and I'm not understanding why he's the authority here. Like what
Right.
he said is what it is. This one person, like he gave him the secrets or the key to the universe. He has all the answers now.
Right. Exactly. I totally agree. And this is where they get the people get deceived, and as I think, in my opinion, there's like this emotional thing that happens, and remember, if say maybe he heard it enough times where he was convinced it was true. So I think it's a combination of those things, and as I said, I'm not against him at all. He's a um I like talking to him.
And also, if it works for you, right?
Right.
Because whatever it is, if you see a Christian family and they're doing really well and they're positive and they always, like for instance, someone passed away recently and they posted about his mother online and he said, for all you people asking about my mom, I'm too busy to reply, but I just want you to know that she knew Jesus, so she's fine. So It's like whatever works for you that helps you get through, even in situations like that. And it does work for some people. Whatever
Right.
Norm believes works for him.
Right, exactly, exactly. And I believe, our country's founders, wanted this freedom of speech and people to say their different opinions, and that's why on here I'll let people say what they want to say, and then we could, discuss it. And this is how it was supposed to be. And I don't believe in in censorship, and I believe, and I'm so confident and secure in what I believe that I'm not going to mind my position being challenged by somebody.
Correct.
Right. That's why I don't believe in censorship. Like I don't need it. It's like, oh, I'm afraid of what they're going to say. Or no, I'm not afraid of what they're going to say. That's why in the Muslim countries I like to censor people because they're insecure about their religion and the flaws in it. So, like me, I am so secure and confident in enough proof and unrefutable evidence that Christianity is the truth that I think it's fine for freedom of speech, and that we all should have that opportunity because we don't want a 1984 situation.
Yeah, I mean, I want to hear what everybody has to say too, but I don't think everybody has the answers to everything. Like when you tell people that you believe in God, like one of the things that they ask you is, then why do all these bad things happen? Why would he let children die? Why would he let, people be killed in all these horrible ways? Is that what God wanted? And then when a person dies and they say they're in a better place, are they? How do you know? There's
We
always a
we
rationale behind it that it's a good thing or that it was planned or that's how God wanted it.
we won't know. We won't know until we get there.
And also, Norm is saying in the chat that religion causes fear, and they want people to be afraid of things. Now, maybe he does that in a way to make us afraid of religion.
Hmm.
Well,
So when they say God fearing, what does that mean?
yes,
God fearing.
the expression God fearing is true. If you don't fear God, you don't believe in Him.
Right. Right. And
Well, yeah.
yeah, and basically, God didn't want us to be afraid. He wanted us to live certain lives to for what was best for us. God is like a father wanting the best thing for his kids, and the the gay
Mm-hmm.
stuff, the different things that people do, it's wrong
Yeah.
for them. But people will, like the Marxists. In Marxism, it's a big thing to get rid of religion and to destroy Christianity because you have no more morals. People just do whatever they want,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's a reverse psychology. They want you to be afraid of religion because they're trying to make you afraid of what you're going to lose. So in the way they're doing the same thing that they're doing, they're using fear too. Which I don't think we're using fear. We're just trying to, in religion,
Well, yeah,
God.
they're replacing it with something else,
Right,
just like the CRT and everything. It's another religion. They're filling a void with something because they
right,
really do feel, not the ones who are in on it, the ones who actually believe it, they believe that they are on the right side and that they are the virtuous ones, right?
Right.
The equality and all of that business. So,
mm-hmm.
but my thing too is like, when they say this country was built on the forefathers or whatever and their beliefs and they were Christian, it's a Christian nation and God bless America and all of that. I guess it's because those principles worked and they were good. And if let's say you don't believe in the Bible, you say it's a book, I don't care if somebody else wrote it,
Right,
then what would make you do the things that people do that came from those teachings? For example,
mm-hmm.
if you don't believe in the Bible, then you wouldn't think that same sex marriage is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Because where would you get the idea that it's wrong?
Exactly. Or people that do evil things to people and whatnot. There's no morals behind it. And Norm is saying about how if you don't believe in religion, then you need to fear. Why would God want that? And that's a very good question. See, because God there is a fall of mankind. They ate from the forbidden fruit, and we disobeyed God, and then we deserved all to just be all destroyed, and because we broke a treaty, like a contract, a pact, and then God sent His Son, which was Him in the flesh, to save us and bring us to heaven, and He didn't want us to do like a kid. You don't want to play in the street, because you don't want to get hit by a car. It was also for our own good. So that's the answer to Norm's question.
But what about when people say, what about this waiting game for Jesus to come home or come back, and then have this brawl with the devil, right? And all of this stuff to happen once again. Like, what's the delay?
The devil's going to reign for 1,000 years. He's
Right.
already doing. He's already doing that now. So at the end of 1,000 years, Jesus will show up and say, "Come on, people, let's go hang
But
out somewhere."
why? Why does that have to happen? And also, when people say God
Because it's in
story,
Revelation. It's in Revelation. If you take it out of context, like I said, 1,000,000 years is just a blink of
mhm,
an eye to God. All
true.
right. So when he said the world was built in 7 days, one day is 1 billion years.
Mhm.
Think of it. You can't fathom that time.
Right. And also, I totally agree
And
with you.
it's above our understanding.
Mhm. And also, basically, you know, I feel that like he was saying about that's what governments do, putting fear in the people. But what is the intentions
Mm,
behind it? It's like a lot of governments, were there. God put the governments there as the punishment, the fallen sons of God, which are the fallen angels, in some kind of a form, the aliens, which would influence the leaders of the world, and that's what God put there, because of the fall of mankind. And as I said, God just wants to have
mhm.
us do the right thing and what is best for us, best for our health. And the devil wants as many people to go to hell as possible.
Well, basically, we're just here to pass some sort of test in the hopes for eternal life. Is that the
Right.
gist?
Yes, and also Norm says some things that that kind of come from Christianity, but are a little twisted around. About the
Mm,
they were saying we're not gods, but we can say what we come. Life and death are in the tongue. The Bible says, and there's different energy fields we could tap in where we will have more of a chance of getting things, in life. If we have a certain spiritual focus on God and whatnot in certain meditations. But it's like we're not God though. We don't have all the power. The power comes from Him. We on our own don't have this power. It's like a light needs electricity.
Right.
Exactly. And yeah, and also with the Nephilims, and I was just studying about this the other day that they were all over this place. And where I'm kind of close to South America, all down under there. They're here, and then because of the diseases, they were wiped out. And because you have to see, the Bible talks about these giant things. God had a flood. All on the other side of the world, where there's also pyramids, this great flood happened, and they were trying to build these pyramids to get revenge on this guy that killed them in a flood. It's kind of comical, but it confirms what the Bible was saying. And the
mm,
and the biblical people, they did not
mm,
know each other, they did not have the internet, but they all have scriptures that confirm each other. How, without the internet or anything, that they're able to do that? That was the
mm.
Holy Spirit uniting the church together, and back before the church, uniting the people together of Israel.
You know how they say that you have to spread the good word in the four
Mm-hmm.
corners of the earth, right? But
Yes.
there's this tribe that I think they tried to get to them and they couldn't. I think somebody went to try to preach the gospel to them and he was killed. You know what I'm talking about? It's
Um.
like this tribe somewhere on an island. They're isolated. They are like the only ones. I don't know if they are the only ones, but
Okay, so you're a
they
modern
have
day
no
tribe.
contact with civilization to this day.
Okay, there are many different islands and tribes where people are not able to they don't have religion or anything. They're just still in the Stone Age, and they were not colonized or modernized or anything. Yes, there are still tribes out there, and they throw spears at drones and stuff.
Oh yeah. There are people on this earth that have never seen civilization. They still
So if
live.
they never heard the words, are they saved?
Oh, pardon.
If they never heard the word, nobody was able to
Okay, that's
preach it
an
to them.
excellent question. Very good question. So, people, of course, if someone in some other part of the world never heard about God or didn't know anything about Jesus, even if they're like Buddhist or something from Asia, God, they're, would save them, if they were, righteous people. And I will add that there were different prophets and people that were sent, and Buddha may be a prophet to another group of people, at that
Mm,
time. And then Jesus is the final completion of it. So like Confucius and Buddha say similar things to Jesus. Like
mm,
Confucius said, you're concerned about the snow on your neighbor's step, and not the snow on your step. And Jesus said, "You're concerned about the beam in your brother's eye, but not in your eye." All this, it's like they say the same things. And Buddha was like, Buddha said you want revenge, but you throw, it's like taking a hot coal, throwing at someone, you burn yourself. And it's very similar to Christianity, and Buddha and Jesus both fasted for 40 days. I mean, it's crazy, this synchronicity from the different religions. But Jesus, we know about Jesus, and if somebody rejected Jesus for whatever reason, it's up to God to judge them, to judge their soul, because
But in your mind, when they say that all these different paths lead to the same place, you don't believe that, right?
Okay, it depends on the context of what they mean. So, and I know what you're talking about. So people,
Mm-hmm.
there's many ways that Jesus know. Jesus is the only
Mm-hmm.
way, but there are
Mm-hmm.
before Jesus and other groups that you're talking about that didn't have the Israelites and whatnot. Yeah, they had something for those people at that time, but Jesus is the final completion. But you see, these other people twist it around in a way where you don't need to have Jesus, because because other ways of Jesus. But you see, they tell a truth and they twist it around if they realize it or not, because they're being influenced by something else that's wanting them to do that.
Yep.
All right, does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you know the Cajun conservative?
The KJ conservative.
You never heard of him? I just thought of him right now. I remember somebody had him on their channel, and I think he lives where you are. But he's
Oh,
Christian, and
Cajun.
this whole channel is about that.
so you
So
said it's a KJ conservative.
Cajun, like
Okay.
Cajun
Is
spice.
is he a good cook?
I don't know, but
Sorry.
he's Creole. I guess he talks. He has that accent. That the
Okay.
accent that
Um.
over there.
Well, yeah, I
Cajun
will
conservative.
definitely look him up. Yeah. So, basically,
But I have another question before I forget, because I wanted to ask you this in particular now that I have you.
yes, ma'am.
When they say that, when they say God bless America, when they say that this nation is blessed or it's favored or whatever, everything that is happening right now makes me think about, it's not the first time that these horrible things have happened in other places. And it's great that we were born here. And unlike the left, we appreciate it, right? We
Mm-hmm.
don't think that it sucks to be here. They do. But and when we say that our rights are God given, all
Mm-hmm.
that talk, other people in other places don't have the Constitution. They don't have the same freedoms that we have, but they don't have God given rights. They do, but they can't exercise them, right? If you're in a communist country, what have you. My point is that what makes us special, and what's going to stop us from going through whatever else anybody else goes through because we thought it couldn't happen to us?
Mm-hmm. So, that was just okay. I drowned my words for a second. So, you're saying how the left says how our God-given rights, are our rights, right? Is that what you're saying?
No, the left doesn't appreciate it,
No,
at
I know.
all. I'm saying,
All right.
we'll say, that our rights are God given, constitution or no constitution, right? Um, that this country was built on people who had those values. So,
Right. Right.
God blesses this nation and all of this other stuff.
Right.
So,
So the question.
I guess what I'm thinking is, why do we think we're special, and
Okay.
that whatever else is happening, can happen here?
All right.
Maybe our time is in. I guess is my point.
All right. So, see if I do this. So if I got this right. So basically, the founding fathers, they came here, and they had their revolution, and they're really, it's like a separation from the British Empire, and that they would find a nation under God. So the ideas and laws of America would be from God, and then the left wants to take this away, and then and at the same time taking away America's nationalism and everything it stands for, because when you take God out the
Mhm.
picture, you'll have all these other things of totalitarianism. Every communist country, they mass now Stalinism, like, it had tried to put Christianity in it, but Christianity was still oppressed. But these atheist countries did genocide on the religious people, and they don't believe that you have any rights because you're evolved from a monkey. That's what they think, and you're just some animal, or you're just something from a matrix, and they're really going to do what they say the other side is doing. And so that's why it's important that God, blessed these people, right? And they went, his disciples, they went into Europe, the lost tribe, and we spread Christianity all over the world like he wanted it to. And we were blessed because we are united in the body of Christ. Now, the Jewish people, yes, they have a covenant with God, but it's redundant, kind of, because you have to accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior. And whoever accepts him is part of God's body, and God sees Christ, or sees the Israel nation. So we accepted it, and we're a nation under God, so that's why we're blessed.
Hold that thought for 1 second. Because you know, whenever there's a problem with Israel and Palestine, everyone comes out of the woodwork to say that they side with Israel, which is fine. You know, I don't get involved in foreign conflicts, but it's over my head. Because they say they're the chosen, because they're favored. So they side with Israel. How could that be if they don't believe in Jesus?
Exactly.
You see this right here?
Yes, sir.
You see this?
Yes.
Holy
Well,
Bible.
this is not fake news.
Facts.
Sorry, Norm.
Amen.
I can't see the chat.
What a coincidence! What a coincidence!
I held up the Bible.
What a coincidence! Because you know what? We're about to have a moment here. So this is my King James Bible. This is one of them. And
I have two, actually.
And also,
I have one that's in. I have one King James that is in. I forgot what language it is. My brother has it right now, but it's in a different language. I have the English version.
Right, and also this is from my. Although him and I are both Protestant, we both became Protestant. This is the Catholic one. See, it has Jesus there, and those are the angels, and they look kind of like the gods because they're from the same thing. But these are the holy ones, and then those are some more, the angels that surround Jesus.
You're holding up a Bible? I don't see that. Wait a minute.
I held one up.
Well,
I
held up two of them. You'll
You
eventually
did?
see it.
Okay. I think it's because on YouTube it looks different than what I'm seeing.
Yeah,
Okay.
SC Wolverines. SC Wolverines.
Oh, I see it now. That's beautiful, man.
Mm-hmm.
Holy crap.
Right, and also SC Wolverines is saying how, same thing. He's like reading my mind, that if he wasn't a Christian, he would be a wild man. I would be a wild man if I wasn't a Christian. I would just do a lot of things. I mean, but Christianity puts these values in me, and then I see the values. My uncle is an atheist, and he just did a lot of stuff with women and all, and he just did whatever he wanted because God didn't exist. And I explained to him the same things that I explained to Norm, and it's up to God to help them see their errors. And Norm was saying how
well, I do know people who are not, they don't believe in God, I guess. Maybe they're agnostic. I don't know. I can't say if they're really atheists all the way. They don't think the Bible. They don't believe in the Bible per se, okay? But they live a good life. I'm not making excuses. I'm just giving you a real life example. They live a good life. They live a decent life. They're not killing. They're not stealing. They're not with women. They're not, doing all of those stuff. In other words, whatever it is that's happening with them is happening with or without the Bible. They're decent people. They're hardworking. They're the kind of people that you'd say is a conservative or a patriot, and they're not even affiliated with anything like that. But if you had to lump them into a category, you would say, okay, I would think they're, America first, patriot, whatever, because they work hard. They're doing everything for their family. They're providers. They're real men, etc. But they don't believe in God. So where they get that from, I don't know. I'm just saying that those people exist.
Right, I totally agree with what you're saying.
And people who know everything that you know inside and out do the complete opposite and are protesting with BLM. I know them.
Right.
I have to comment. Norm says everyone says that their beliefs are correct and everyone else is incorrect, which is quite ironic. Norm, there is only one God, and every single religion prays to that God in some different form. The only religion that's made up is Islam. That is man-made.
Facts.
I took a class on different religions, and the professor said that somebody in the class, I guess when they were talking about the Islamic faith, he was overcome, and he converted right there on the spot in the class. And I thought, I wonder if they would do that if somebody said that they were Christian, that they converted, but they do that.
No, Christians are hated. Islamic people are loved by the left.
Oh yeah.
And they bend over backwards too to respect their religion.
Oh yeah. You
Yeah,
know.
Very.
well, I don't. That is one thing right now. I am not sorry to say I do not respect Islam,
I don't
but
either.
I don't hate Muslim people, unless they're extreme. Because real, true Muslim people, like I knew this guy that worked at a store where I used to live. He was Pakistani Muslim, and he did that prayer with his little mat and everything. And his name was, we called him Tony because I couldn't pronounce his name if they paid me. Um, and he even said the Quran was raped by Muhammad when he got his hands on it. He has two different versions of the Quran, and for me, he was one of the. He wants to see his great grandchildren. You will not hear an extremist say that.
I think they know of Jesus. They believe in him as
All right.
as another
Oh yeah, they
person.
the Islam. They believe in Jesus. They believe in hell.
Yeah, but you see, with
Mhm.
Islam, and I learned a lot of things from people that refute Islam. I remember for a long time. So basically, with Islam, Muhammad, he said, the Bible is the uncorrupted, unrefutable, undisputed word of Allah, and the Torah is as well. And then that God's word cannot be corrupted. Then he says the Bible's corrupted. So he contradicts himself. And one of his judges were like going around and saying, "Hey, Muhammad, dude, this Bible is corrupted." He said, "No, it's not corrupted. It's the word of God." And then you're going to go against it. And he said, "If you see anything in your Bible that says that I am wrong, then go ahead and I'm a false prophet." So that's basically what it says in there. And also, Muhammad's wife was like 9 years old, and it's kind of it's kind of it's not good at all. And also, they believe Jesus did not die on the cross. Others say he did die on the cross. It's just it's a deceived. So they tell a couple of truths, and then they twist it around and try to get people away from believing Christ died for their sins.
Right.
Right. And also that God, and maybe, they didn't understand it. They didn't, were confused by it because it's a confusing thing. But the Trinity, and King David prayed to the Spirit when he was young. He prayed to the Spirit. The Bible talks about the Spirit. And, Jesus said, beware of the false prophets that would arise. And also, with Islam has they don't like things against women. They believe that we should be put to death. And like on ABL Live one time, he was talking about Christianity and how they're singled out and attacked, as we know. It also has to do with what the cultural Marxists are doing, and not every Muslim on an individual level is bad necessarily, but basically they were saying to ABL and all of us that they're the same religion as we are, and that. But then I was clear. I'm like, they do not believe in the Trinity. They do not believe he died on the cross, and Jesus is just a man. And I saw a movie before that the Arabs, like the Arab pagans, were trying to get rid of the Muslim people. They're trying to arrest them, and they told the Christians, "We believe in Jesus too." And then they got accepted in there. So they were very clever on how they do this, and that's why I caught that, and I
Mhm.
told them what was going on. All right, you all could say, Anthony, you could say your thoughts.
Um, I read the things that I do know that the Hindus do believe in hundreds of gods, but the ones that believe in hundreds of gods, actually, there is only one God in that hundred. That hundreds of gods is only one God. They'll
Right.
be praying to those gods. Now, except for Islam, everything from Buddhism to Christianity, what is to say you are not God, the Father of Jesus? What is there to tell everyone he's not going to appear to every single person or in religion as that one God? He's going to be what they want to perceive him to be in their books. Like ours is the Bible. I don't know what what other countries read, or do they have King James? Do they have a different Bible? Do they read the Quran? Stuff like that. I'm not sure. My older brother has a copy of the Quran in English, of course, and it's horrendous.
Wait a minute. Can I ask you so I understand what you're saying?
Sure.
That all these different religions, whoever they're praying to, you're saying, how do we know that it's not all going to one God? And that's
Right.
how they want it?
Right.
Like whatever suits us wherever we are?
Exactly, except Islam.
Mm. Well, let me tell you something though,
I'm
because
only being true because in the Quran it says strike them at their necks. My brother was showing me these things that are horrendous, and when I heard someone say that they're the religion of peace, I laughed my ass off. No such animal.
Well, look what's happening in Minnesota, right? I was shocked to find out wherever the George Floyd thing took place, it's the same place where Ilhan is the rep, correct?
Right.
Minneapolis? Okay. So that's a blue state or a blue area, whatever city. They wanted to dismantle and abolish the police and all of that other stuff. But they also have a high concentration of Muslims, which I thought was ironic because all the things that they're pushing doesn't align with their religious beliefs.
Right. But
But they're responsible for putting these people in office as well. Aren't they?
Sonia, did you see the clip on the news about all the Muslim parents giving their school board
Well,
hell
now they're
because of
upset because of what they're finding out because they didn't realize that that was going on.
Right. Well, no one realized that.
Because of the xenophobia part.
No parents realized that was going on. All right. And then when you had these people standing up in front of all those Muslims who were there to vote out the school board, saying that if you ban these pornographic books, you're banning science. Now I'm saying to myself, what? You sound like Dr. Fauci now. No.
Well, they were lured into the trap of how they paint, conservatives and Republicans as being against immigration. So they think the Democrats are for them being here, so they're going to vote that way. But they didn't know all the things that come along with that. And another thing that people were pointing out, and this is no offense to anybody here, is that a lot of these school board meetings, you see the mothers coming out in droves. They are fighting for their kids, but you hardly see any men until we saw the Muslims.
Rebel says, why so many different versions of the Bible? Well, to me, there's only one version, and that's the King James.
All right, I got you. I got everybody. Okay, all right. I'm about to clear up everything about that. I was reading some. I could put this link in the chat. It's some more information about Muhammad and that and the things about him. This is from one of the YouTubers I used to watch about it. I'll put the link in the chat about the Muslim stuff. So okay, why is there a Bible and there's so many different Bibles? So basically, with the Bible, so the King James Bible, there's that one. There's the Orthodox Ethiopian one, which has all the books in it, and then there's the King James version and the other King James versions. So basically, some people during the Protestant Reformation, which now I'm Protestant, like some of my ancestors were, they took out some things because it didn't make sense to them. And I could, go look up the exact reason, but it just basically, it didn't go with what they were trying to do. But the King James Version is very good at the translation. Like, for instance, with Adam and Eve, Satan says, ye will surely not die. When the other translations, like the Catholic version, will say, in our kind of English, that you will surely not die. You see, but ye is plural, so he was talking about Adam and Eve. They would not die. But you is just, was it one or the other? So that's why... those just explain the different things. Now, the Catholic Bible has a couple more books in it than the other one, but the translation is not the same as the King James Version. The King James Version is the way they translate the Old English. That's the best one, because it has the best translation to get what's really going on. And then,
yeah, Norm just said there's only one correct version of the Bible, which is the one I read. Hilarious. No, that's not what we're saying, Norm. The King James Version is the best translated Bible.
Right.
We're not saying we only read one and don't read any other.
Right. It's just and my teacher was telling me about how with the Bible, how it's there's a King James Version of the Catholic Bible, so this would debunk what Norm is saying. Like the Catholic, the Catholic Bible has extra books in it. and I believe you're not supposed
Yes.
to add or take away from the book, and that has the accurate translation. So the translation's right, and the Bible, the King James Bible, is a good translation, and the Catholic Bible has the other books in it. But yes, the King James version of Catholic Bible is good, and also I would say the best Bible is the Ethiopian Orthodox, because it has the Book of Enoch, which talks about these aliens.
The King James version, the Book of Enoch, is banned.
Oh, you see, because they may have not have understood it, or there could have been some deceptions or something. But no, Enoch was the great 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 grandfather of what's his name, of the Noah, and he
Yep.
talked to the Nephilim and the aliens and the fallen angels and all the different people, because there were some of them that like repented and went back to heaven, and it was like these angels, and things. He talked about the aliens and stuff. So this, if that was in Christianity, in mainstream Christianity, we all would have had a better understanding of it. But with the internet, with this great technology that's bringing all of us together, even if we disagree on some things, it's good that the technology in the time we live brings us all together. But yes, all the Bibles are fine. But I would say the only exceptions are the Unitarian religions that don't have the Trinity in it, like the Jehovah Witness and the Mormons. Yeah, that's an imposter. That's a counterfeit version,
Right.
like Islam. It's like Islam.
Right.
Some guy came around and some angel talked to him about some things. So that's basically all the Trinitarians are fine. Those Bibles are fine.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
So that's
Oh my
Rebel's
God,
answer.
there's so much debate about that alone,
Oh,
right? The Father, Son, and the Holy
oh,
Spirit.
this is quite simple. So, basically, with the Bible, people get this mixed up. But with the Trinity, God it's like a marriage between a man and a woman. They're two different people in one marriage. So that's how they're two, three divine persons in one being. They occupy one thing. And as I said in the Bible, King David prayed to the Spirit. You know, so that's talking about the Holy Spirit. That the Israelites and the Jews, they believe in the Trinity like us, but they backed away from the Trinity because of Christianity. But yes, in their religion there's a Trinity because we came from their religion. And also, they'll say about why was Jesus praying to himself in the garden. Actually, the Father and the Son are not equal, but they're part of the same thing. Like a father and his son are part of the same family, but they're not equal.
Yep.
Right.
I think he was the prayer he was saying in the garden. He was actually afraid.
Yes, because his human side was afraid because he was all God and he was human at the same time. So he had our emotions and feelings and whatnot, but he was also God at the same time. And on the cross, he was actually reciting a psalm, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? It was actually a psalm he was saying. And,
Yes.
he had the human fear like we have, but he did his Father's will, but he was able to forgive sin. How could he forgive sin if he's not God? He wasn't just a person like you or me. He was God in the flesh, but it's three persons in one. Jesus said, I would send the person. I would send the comforter, the person to guide the people. And they think it's Muhammad, but it's actually the Holy Spirit. He would send his Spirit to be with us, to guide us to the truth.
SC Wolverine's out.
Yeah, I'm about to end the thing soon. We all have to get our rests. I am about to end it
Yeah,
soon.
Sonya.
Yeah, Sonya keeping us all up. And she
Yep.
muted herself.
Blaming
Yeah.
me. I was here for the longest time just listening. Aliens, the
Mm-hmm.
fallen.
Mm-hmm.
What else? Jesus.
Oh,
What
yeah.
else?
This was a great stream, people. I mean, really,
Thanks.
everything, everything.
Yeah, and I'm thankful Norm came, and and I like,
Absolutely.
yeah, and I like hearing his thoughts, even if we disagree with it. It's good to have these discussions. And
Well, it opens doors.
right,
It opens doors of and thought and oh man, what's the word I'm looking for? Well, it opens doors of thought. So it's always great.
right,
I mean, you can disagree or agree. We agree to disagree, but you know, checking things out doesn't hurt.
right. And also like in my own life, like I uh, wanted to do my own thing, and be in charge of my own life. And I'm glad I did the things I did when I was younger and helping out my family, because that's why I'm here with all of you. You know, it brought all of us together, and I'm glad that I did this. I'm glad I went live.
Cool. You should do it more often. We got to get SE to do live.
Yeah. Now I'm going to yes, I'm going to do every Friday night like this. I'll do live, and also this Sunday during the day I'm going to go live also, and talk about different things, because there's different audiences, that I talk to, and not everybody's up at 5.
Did you mean to go live at this time of the night because it was not planned, or you always will do like night owl sessions?
I'll probably try to do some of them earlier in the future when I get the other
Yeah.
room. There's another room where I could get it done a little bit earlier, and then there'll be times when they're late like this. But yeah, there'll be ones when they'll be a little bit earlier, and we'll get more people in. But this is like a kind of like a temporary thing, and also all right, now I am gonna end it. But now let's say I'm glad I met all of you, and Anthony and Sonia. I'm glad to finally get the chance to talk to you all. And now, Anthony, any final words?
Yeah, good night and sleep tight. Don't let the bed bugs bite. Do some astral projecting, and I don't know.
Yeah, I was just seeing about Stalin, and he would use bed bugs to like to get rid of people. They would dump them in bed bugs. It's kind of gruesome, but
Yeah,
synchronicity,
isn't that something?
right? And also,
Wow.
You know what you could do if you want to do streams like this, because these subjects are heavy. Um, Maybe you can email us or contact us somehow to let us know what you're going to talk about, so we can come prepared with some questions and maybe some information, because it might help. I don't know. I'm just saying.
Show us your garden, alien.
all right.
Rebel.
Oh, now I'll say Rebel's question. I'll answer real quick. So the demons were given domain over Earth because of what the ancestors did, and the demons have control over the weather, and they do that. It's just part of the fallen world, and also God can control the weather. Yes, he can, but he does allow things to happen. But God can bring beauty out of
There will,
ashes. Because
yep,
you
there
know
will be earthquakes, floods in diverse places.
Right, like look at Katrina. I was, he's Rebels talking about that. My house was flooded, the cats were killed. I didn't know my father. Some people thought I was weird at school, but most of the time I got along with people. And I had the relationship that failed. I had terrible things happen to me, but God always brought me something better. And even through storms and things that happened, or whatever will happen, God can bring beauty out of ashes. That you can use that pain and strength to rise above into something better. Like the pain is good motivation. So that's my answer to his question.
Norm says I have been prepared since I was born. Well, Norm, we are born knowing only life itself and nothing else. Saying that you've been prepared since you were born is like saying I've been transgender since I've been born.
He
That
identifies as prepared.
Yes. So his oh man, his
Gender
what do they
identity.
call him? Pronoun?
His pronouns.
Yes, his pronoun, his whatever his pronouns, if that's the case. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, this is why this has been a great stream.
Right.
Man.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now, also, what are your thoughts on this? This thing I invented with this streaming stuff.
What are my thoughts?
On this thing I came up with.
On the technical side, you mean?
Yeah, because it's like I've never seen this before. I just was gonna put the StreamYard thing with the callers at the same time. It looks like
I've never seen it from this side because I'm a guest right now. But what I see on YouTube is different than what I see in the StreamYard. Not that that matters, because you're on the bottom and then you're on the top. Anyway, I think the phone calls are nice, but not for all of us to interact at the same time, because we can't hear the caller or the caller can't hear us, right? That's how it works with the phone calls.
All right, so can
So
you repeat that?
if you have someone calling in, don't have anybody talk on the panel at all, because they're not going to be able to hear them and they
I
can't
know.
hear the caller.
I know.
That's right.
That was
That's correct.
Because what I can do is, I can, as I said, that's true. This was an experiment. This was never done before. I didn't
I
know
did the same
what
thing,
they
and
would.
I didn't know that they weren't hearing each other.
Okay,
So
well,
I
what's
just have to say, Norm, how do we choose our death? Okay. I didn't choose to be born.
alien.
My parents brought me here. I didn't choose a time. I didn't choose my birth. And I certainly am not going to choose my death. God will choose my death, or I'll walk out the front door and get hit by a car.
Alien,
Okay.
I'm only
So
telling you this because I'm an
I am
expert.
not going to choose my death. God will choose my death. And I don't, and it's nothing that I fear. If you're not, the words God fearing man is a phrase. Christianity is not here to make me fear God. I fear God because he could throw a huge asteroid at my house. So anyway,
all right. So, also, yes, Sonia. I just want to test it out. It's a new experiment. You'll never. People don't succeed if they don't try. And I'm glad that we try that. And I thank you for your feedback. And I'll keep that in mind. And if I, you know, it seems like if they mute the stream, it could work somewhat. But I would have to, if I did it like that again, I would have to orchestrate it a different way, or just not have them on the panel at all. But hopefully in the future we could come up with some kind of a way that they could hear both. But it seems they paused the stream, they could hear both. But hopefully at some point that would be done. But do you have any more thoughts, Sonia?
Um,
Anything else you want to
well,
add?
to this, no, but next time I'll have notes if I know what you're going to talk about because I do have questions about these debates that we're having with the people on the left, and I just feel that when you're arguing with them or anyone in general, you can't say that the reason why you believe what you believe is based on the Bible, because even though that's how you feel and it may be true for you, I don't think that's the way to get ahead in the debate or the argument that we're having with these people. And I see a lot of people say that when they go to the school boards, that this is wrong or that's wrong because their religion. And I think that's where things get confused.
Right, because
We're going to lose that
no,
argument.
no, because it's people. They don't want to accept the truth. That's their business. But the Bible's irrefutable, and there's plenty of evidence and proof for that. But there is different ways to convey different arguments and whatnot. But is it just they don't want to accept it? That's on them. But I see I see what you're saying, and um, thank you. And now I will end the StreamYard side. All right. Thank you all for coming in. All right.
Bye.
you're welcome.
Okay. All right. Ending that. Okay. Now let's go to this other screen. Alright, so this was a very interesting stream, and I thank you all for all of your thoughts and um, different, we had different debates and different discussions, and that was pretty cool. And thank you all for coming, and next time, Sonia, I'll let you know what's going on if you want to take notes, whatever, and I like the different things that you mentioned. Thank you. Thank you, Norm, for calling in. Very interesting talk. And Anthony and everybody else in the chat and future people that will see this. Thank you. And now, it'll be, now it's going to go end.